Surviving 1,000 days in a hardcore Minecraft world is very common. It's almost expected these days. Beyond that, however, there are fewer and fewer worlds that continue on. Thousands of players have uploaded 1,000 days, but the list of people that have completed and shown their 2,000 days world is much more exclusive and full of recognizable hardcore names. Easy, Luke the Notable, Cookie God, Carves, Smallish Beans, Fwip, SB, and Farzy are among those who've posted updates that far into a world. Chances are if you watch hardcore, you know a lot of those names. Today I'm taking my world into this more exclusive and of course very handsome club. I recently survived 2,000 days in my world, and this is the full story of how I got from day 1,000 to today. If you haven't watched the first 1,000 days, there's a link in the description so you can start there. Between day 1,000 and 2,000 I built 11 new builds, from the Sun Temple to my new waterfall. I also improved the world's resource capacity with 28 new farms, including a 1,000,000 per hour cobblestone farm and a 72,000 per hour ice farm. I've now built over 80 farms in the world and have the capacity to produce nearly every resource I'll need to finish the fantasy Asian city. Let me answer a few commonly asked questions before we get into this. Number 1, the seed is in the description. Going into the world, I knew the seed had a double village next to a cherry biome. That's all I knew before starting this world. Number 2, all of the farm links are in the description. And number 3, nothing has been cheated in. I haven't died in this world ever. I do have proof of everything I've done, and when I've been questioned on it, I've actually uploaded some of that proof in the past. During this video, I'll upload some, let's call it director's commentary on certain moments and sections like I did in the 1,000 Days movie. I find it interesting to rewatch and with the power of hindsight talk about what happened and why I did what I did. I'll also remove some of the intros and outros so you don't have to hear me say, "Hi, it's Rad," and "Bye, see you later, goodbye," 8 times. Everything else will be included as it was during the episode's original upload. This video clocks in at just under 2.5 hours, so grab a drink and a snack and enjoy. I'll come back at the very end to update you on what's happening next. Starting from day 1,000, I went straight to work doing a lot of neglected projects around the world. First, I ran most of the main farms in the world. This included the Raid Farm, the Quad Mob Farm, the Gravity Block Duper for both sand and concrete, the Gold Farm, Bartering Farm, and most of the farms on the Industrial Island, including the Bone Meal, Cobblestone, Netherwort, Stone Generator, Sugarcane Farm, and more. I also replaced the Dark Oak Farm with the newer, updated version. I've been using what we call version 3 since I built it. We've since upgraded to version 6, and I'm now using that one. It's a much better, more reliable, and shulker-loaded version of the Dark Oak Farm. The mechanics are mostly the same, but the wiring, item return, and storage are all drastically upgraded. I also had to run the Nether farms, Gold Farm, Basalt Generator, the Wither Skeleton Farm, the Bartering Farm, the Froglight and Magma farms. Building more than 50 farms in the first 1,000 days of the world was quite challenging, but something I'll find rewarding for the next 1,000 days. I want to start focusing mainly on the spawn build project, and that means having resources anytime I want them. We have a huge city to build there, roads and paths and other infrastructure, residential homes, military districts, and guild shops, so much more planned. None of that is easy or even possible without all the farms I've been building. Once I ran most of the farms, I needed to use all those new drops, so I used the bone meal to fill all of the farms that need it, including glowberries, the nanocrop farm, the 2 tree farms, the glow lichen, sea pickles, and so on. I then traded with villagers to get a lot more redstone and quartz, and traded even more to set up a few new traders, including one for flame, a trade that I didn't have despite my nearly 20 librarians, and all of them being master level. I also continued breeding my turtles for the Scoot farm, which is pretty much now in full swing. Oh, we did some testing over on my Twitch. Apparently Blast Prot 4 boots can save you from a creeper falling on you in a desert temple, and you're pretty much immune to creeper damage with full Prot 4 armor if you've got Blast Prot 4 boots. So I enchanted an entirely new pair of boots, and that's what I'll be wearing from now on. Yes, wearing blast protection does make you weaker against other mobs, but the odds I die to a creeper in the overworld are by far the highest. If you wanted another pair of boots, full Prot 4 is great for bastions, and fire Prot 4 is better for everything else like blazes and lava. I never take the blast Prot 4 off though. You don't have to convince me twice, the results of that test were amazing. I also ran the shulker farm because I need thousands of shulkers to get the main storage fully operational. I built it and it's ready to get loaded up, but that required collecting every item in Minecraft, so I spent around 9 hours doing that on a couple of live streams. You need to collect 2 of most of the items in the world, 1 for the filter and 1 for a display item, except the multi-item storage. You only need 1 representative item, so for banners it doesn't matter what type of banner or what color carpet you have. Loading up the storage and getting it ready for items is one of the most tedious but ultimately rewarding projects I've completed in the world so far. Every block and filter item you place takes you one step closer to putting in that first mixed shulker of items and just walking away. That's the feeling that makes it all worthwhile. Once the storage was ready, I broke all the chests, loaded all my stuff into shulkers, and loaded it into the storage. Not only was that fun, but seeing a fully finished storage and being able to use it in the world now is really nice and an amazing quality of life upgrade. Once it was working, I basically went to all the farms in the world, shulker loaded up as many drops as I could carry, and brought them all home. My storage now contains most of the items we own in the world, organized in a very easy to find way. I actually live out of the storage hall now. I wanted to start and finish each episode inside the pagoda in my office, but to be honest, I'm always in the storage hall. I haven't been inside my own house that much lately. The storage is easily the most valuable thing in my world to date. With the items collected, farms ran, and storage up to date, I spent some time catching up on the Dragon Egg project. We now have over 30,000 subscribers on the channel, and I only had 9,000 and something eggs down. I'm now over 16,000 eggs done and ready to keep building our Dragon Egg drop for that 100,000 subscriber special that's definitely coming in 2024. While filling the storage, I also took the time to set up almost all of the potion brewers. I say almost all because I need a lot more blaze powder, gas tiers, and a few other items to fully set it up. A blaze farm would come in super handy right about now, but that's for another day. With most of the potion brewers done though, I felt confident to start actually working on the main projects for this episode. First, I built a warden switch in the world so I can disable warden spawns anytime I want. By flooding an area around a naturally spawned shrieker and bouncing an arrow up and down on a redstone activated piston, this shrieker tries to summon a warden but can't. Once I chunk load this, I can simply activate it and go to any ancient city in the world, but 0 wardens can spawn there. What a weird but useful mechanic. This is helpful when I want something from an ancient city, but I can't really be bothered with all the sneaking about and such. Okay, this is the most controversial moment of the series. I want to test the warden switch so I didn't die building it. So I copied my world, tested the switch by pasting the Lightmatica file in using Creative, loaded the farm with wardens to test that it worked, and then stopped the recording. I then went back to my actual hardcore world and built it in survival, but because of the jumping back and forth, I only have replay mod footage of the actual build. The 2 seconds you see of me in first person is from the creative test world. I understand that that's a fairly big mistake and it's 100% my fault. I know not everyone cares either way, but for those who do, I actually built the switch in hardcore, one take, and did not die. I didn't have any problems, nothing bad happened, I was a bad YouTuber and left the wrong footage in. That's it. I'm a big advocate for honesty by hardcore YouTubers in the past, and I think it's fair that I own my mistake, but I didn't cheat in the hardcore world. It's important that you hear that from me. I've killed my warden. I've defeated 5 or 6 total cities in this world without dying. Sometimes you just want to loot and pillage. And before you write me a comment to complain about me using it, remember this world's rules. If it's doable in vanilla Minecraft, it's allowed in this world. Step away from the angry mob button. Once the warden switch was done, I built a general mob switch that actually uses wardens. I now have 75 wardens safely trapped in my world, and if I want to disable mob spawning entirely, I simply flip the switch and no hostile mobs will spawn in the overworld. I would need to do one of these for the nether as well if I wanted to, but for now I've just done this one. Did you know that with the hostile mob switch on that phantoms still spawn? They're basically one of the only mobs you have to worry about once you activate the switch. I'll show you another in a future episode. Something cool about the mob switch is once it's activated, clearing out guardian monuments and killing elder guardians is much easier. It also lets me do things like farm maintenance with relative ease. Once the farms were ran, storage was done, potion brewers were set up, and the mob switches were built, it was time to plan our main build for the episode, which you've already seen in the title and thumbnail. Today I'm building the Sun Temple, a large structure that will go up on top of this hill. It will sit on a large stone base and have a wide lower roof to represent the horizon line. A tall center tower with a chigi, or a curved roof finial, will be a decorative piece to frame the sun. In our village, the Sun Temple lore is that it frames and holds the sun as it goes down each day, keeping it for the night and ensuring it will return in the morning. The Sun Temple is a reminder to the village that each day matters. I know a lot of my first 1000 days went into technical projects, but you're hopefully about to see why. Gathering the materials for a build like this with thousands of dark oak, thousands of cobbled deep slate, thousands of concrete, and thousands of stone variants would have taken hours without the tunnel bore, the dark oak farm, the concrete duper, and the storage that allows me to find everything quickly. This build is going to take nearly 14 full shulkers of materials to build, and it took me less time to get those materials than it did to gather everything for the Buddha statue, which used only about 10% of the building materials. Our final step before I can build the temple is to do some terraforming and clear this land. I'll flatten an area to start, but then we'll do some final terraforming at the end before we're done too. I don't want it to look too cut out of the mountaintop, and cutting all the cherry wood for this is nice though. I love having extra cherry wood, and we definitely increased our dirt, grass, and stone mined in this project. Once the terraforming is done, it's time to get to work. The temple's not going to build itself. A stone brick foundation to build on will give me the shape and the outline. I noticed that a lot of Asian buildings often have this very solid stone foundation, and I've used it on my pagoda and kind of on the villager hall. I want to keep using a similar kind of architecture all around this spawn area. Okay, less talk and more build rad. I'm stunned at how this turned out. The swooping middle roof, the details on the upper tower. This is probably one of my favorite builds I've ever made in Minecraft. And this is how it looks at night as well. The arch lighting around the entry is my favorite, I think. Although the beacon up through the center is a really dramatic effect as well, though I may color it and not leave it white like it is. I do need to finish the terraforming. Right now it looks like I cut the world up with an eraser or something. The cuts were just far too clean and far too sharp. All this stone here has to go and be replaced by grass as well. After a little bit more work, this is how it looks. The slope on the left is way better looking now, and the fall off on the right isn't nearly as dramatic. It could still use a bit of work, but it's fine for now. I'm going to cover that front beacon so we can see a bit better. That was bugging me. Alright, now back up we go and see our first real sunset over the Sun Temple. The detail on this build is definitely my favorite ever, and the shape of those roofs? You can see the roof details highlighting the sun and making it very apparent why this is my sun temple. As the sun goes down on this episode, that gets you caught up on the world. I did a lot while I was waiting for the holidays to end. I hope you love this build as much as I do, and if you're enjoying the series, remember to subscribe, like, and comment, and help push it out to more people. Let's problem solve today. After building this large storage system and all the other farms around the world, it's pretty clear to me that I've used 99% of my iron and I don't have a lot left in the storage to continue building with. My current iron farm is a day 0 ENX04 thing, and while it's worked so far, it's struggling to keep up with me, and I often have to wait for iron to continue projects. It produces around 350 ingots per hour. About a year ago, a technical player named Nico Is Lost created a high efficiency, pretty easy to build, and high capacity expandable iron farm, and this can produce a lot more iron than the 350 I'm currently getting. In fact, today my plan is to build a version that produces over 8,000 iron per hour, or over 20 times faster than the one I currently have. And then by chunk loading it, it will always run and I'll have more iron than I know what to do with. So let's build that. I found a village along the shoreline, which seemed like a nice, safe place to build this. It's away from most of my stuff and near my stronghold, so I do come over this way, but not every day. I needed to start with a villager breeder, and you already know I love Logical Geek Boy's simple breeder as it produces its own food and keeps the villies coming. The issue I have with this is that, in the end, it's not quite fast enough, only producing at max 2 villagers per day. Getting villagers out of this farm is very easy though, so that's a positive. For this farm, I'm going to need 60 villagers. If I only use this one breeder, it would take 30 in-game days, and that's a bit too much, so we'll speed the process along later when I'm closer to finishing the farm. Moving villagers into the breeder is fairly simple. They're going to chase beds at night until I walk them all the way over to the farm. Villagers can be a pain, but I just never really find moving them all that difficult. Once both villagers are in the farm and sleeping, I can break their beds and get myself back out of here. I forgot a trapdoor here, so they couldn't breed, but once that was fixed, we were in the baby making business. This iron farm is a 2-dimension portal-based setup where 2 zombies per layer scare 4 pods of villagers per layer. There are 12 villagers per layer, and I'll need 5 layers total. And yes, that's a lot of saying the word layer. The portals are always above the villagers and zombies, so I'll move both into place by dropping them into their spots above the platform. So as you can see, most of the build is done, but the villagers, well, I definitely don't have 60. I'm going to need to drop a second villager breeder or wait a lot longer. I decided to build the Zinji builder, which is the same one I've done on my Mushroom Island so I can move villies around the world. By far, waiting for villagers was the worst part of building this iron farm. I would always build 2 to 3 breeders before starting this farm in the future, and just provide my own food. It was way simpler than the rest of what I did here. Lessons were definitely learned. This builder is the simplest one I know, but it requires me to provide the food myself. After a quick trip to the nano crop farm though, that was easily done. This thing gives me up to 50,000 carrots per hour, and I'll never use that many. With that breeder done and the villagers in, all I have to do now is drop them a ton of food and it'll work. It didn't work. Okay, I'm super duper smart. I put 4 villagers in the breeder, not 2. I put 4 beds down and my brain was turned off, so it's fine. I just had to axe 2 of them to leave, and they left. That was such a dumb joke. Let's leave it in. Now the breeder's perfect and I can leave this while I finish the farm. And while they do, I'm going to build the rail line to get the villagers from the breeders into their respective levels. I thought about the ways to do this, and the easiest for me was simply to wrap a line of rail all the way around the entire farm, with little drop-off points on each layer. The nether side of the iron farm is where we kill the golems and collect their iron ingots. They fall out of the portal into the lava below, die, and the drops are then pushed by slime over the collection and into shulkers. The poppies get composted into a chest as bone meal. The last thing I need to do is add a chicken into each of the boats. These will help push the golems out of the portal. Future red here. The boats weren't quite perfectly aligned, so it only helps about 70% of the time, but it does work. I only have 3 eggs for now, so we'll try and get 2 chickens. Okay, that's 1. Let's push him in before he falls off the edge. Very carefully jump across, and in the boat you go. Unfortunately, my last egg was a dud. I collected a bunch more eggs to finish the last boat off, first around the iron farm, and then even from the small bunch of chickens I have left at home. 7 should be plenty.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Turns out 7 was not plenty. Good news, we're getting plenty of villagers out of the 2 breeders now. There are 3 babies growing up in the logical breeder, another bunch of villagers pushing around each other in the Zinji. It's working out. The plan with the villagers is to minecart them up, 4 per level per trip, and then place beds with the pillow over the hole that I want them to fall into. Break the minecarts after sunset, let them sleep, break the beds, and they fall straight in. I'll show you how that works with these 3. As I break the beds, they'll go right into the beds. This one's a little off, so I had to reset him. He got knocked. Then after the reset, you can see it's going to work flawlessly. And then it's just a matter of repeating this and getting all 60 villagers into place, 4 at a time. We only had a few workplace incidents, like this guy. Moving 60 villagers isn't fun or entertainment, but I know some of you want to make sure I actually move them, so here's a few. I bet if you say, "Hey Mr. Editor Guy, can we get a rhythm edit here?" he may show you more of them. Yes, please. In hindsight, this baby being in a boat with another villager is my fault. So was this. Aw, that was sad. Anyway, while recording this video, one of my friends was talking about how he found a zombie spawner, and if I could find one, I could easily move zombies into the farm. I thought that was a rather clever idea, so I made an effort. I checked a few nearby caves, listened for the sound of zombies. It's not easy to find a random spawner that you want, but this biggish cave was a good place to look. I found a lot of diamonds, and eventually, this zombie spawner. I secured the room and then devised a plan. If I can use a bubble column to shoot the zombies to the surface, I can possibly move more than one at a time. So my plan was to stand on one side of the bubbles, let the zombies walk toward me, get drawn up in the water, and shot away. Then I can fly back to the surface, collect them, and then at night drop them into boats below the iron farm so they don't burn up, and then I can move them as I want to. I can also easily name tag them this way. What happens here confused me so much at first. I was filling the top of the bubble column with water and going for another bucket. Tell me when you see it. Keep in mind I'm finishing this build with the mob switch activated. Hostile mobs can't spawn. Why are there 5, 6, 8, okay 9 zombies in the water with me? By the time I ran away, they'd converted to drowns and a few were still on land. Do you know how hostile mobs can spawn with a mob switch activated? Hold on, I'll explain. I still had zombies on land, so I decided to get them into boats quickly. Some start is better than no start, right? Putting them under the farm will keep them from burning, and now I can just take this other one up with me. What you'll see here will explain what was going on. I got this guy in without any trouble, and that was super easy and misled me into thinking they'd all be this easy. These little corridors I made to walk them in worked very well though. All of a sudden I had a lot more company. 3 golems spawned before I even got off the stairs. And you see my second zombie? He did not survive them. While I go back to the spawner and get more zombies up to the surface, let me explain. The villagers are now in and have beds. They're forming a village, which is what lets the iron farm work. The zombies appeared as a result of a zombie horde, which is a special in-game event that we rarely see, and when we do, we often forget it's this special event because there's other zombies, skeletons, and creepers that are all out on the same night, so it just looks like a few extra zombies. However, I have the mob switch on, so the only thing that can spawn near my villagers were zombies and iron golems. I named the zombies just one egg because Comview, who you've heard me mention before, was playing in his hardcore world over on Twitch, and he built an entire egg farm because he needed a baby chicken. So when he went to hatch one, he got it on the very first egg. He built the whole farm for just one egg. So I ended up with a horde and 3 golems. With the zombie spawner and trap ready, all I have to do is break this light and get myself safe. The zombie will pathfind to me through the water, and zoop, just like that, he's gone. You like that noise? Zoop. You'll see that I'm always ready to place a block at my feet even if he doesn't go up and instead makes it through the water. I play safely even if there's almost no real danger. The zombie's not going to kill me. But he does go up, and so does his friend here. I made a safe place to land so I could just fall straight back down here, and then I flew out. I have to ride the bubble column, and unfortunately it was no longer rainy nor nighttime. So both of the ones I just captured, wet poof. The spawner is a great backup idea, but I got sick of its speed, so I turned the mob switch off, and like a good hardcore player, I got to work. Zoop. A few more iron golems spawned, and I realized they're mad at me when I shoot them. I can't have a rogue iron golem in my world, so I decided the smartest solution was to spawn in 4 iron golems on purpose. I can lead them, attach them to a fence, and more importantly, if I punch one, a summoned golem won't attack me. And the villagers will stop summoning golems that can kill me and the zombies, and we can keep working. Ironically, at this point, I needed more iron for minecarts and other bits of the farm, so I had to go back to the old iron farm and empty it out one last time. The iron farm is nearly done, and now I need to chunk load it so it's always running. I'm going to chunk load from above the farm in both the overworld and nether so the portals don't link to the ones that are inside the farm. Also, yes, I'm mining obsidian again. I hereby make a solemn vow. We're building an obsidian farm next episode,
or I'm jumping into lava and ending the series.
Now you know it's serious. Well, I have to suffer through this, but you don't. That's the chunk loader done. As long as this cart is going back and forth between the nether and overworld, iron is now coming in at over 8,000 ingots per hour. So much for our iron problem. This kill chamber has anywhere from 1 to 10 golems in it all the time. I AFK'd for a little while to get almost 3 shulkers of iron. I cleaned out this one at the same time, so let's see the comparison. It's under 5 stacks. Yeah, we've upgraded the iron farm finally. So for the rest of this episode, we're going to work on the layout and infrastructure for the city that I'm building at spawn. I want to start adding a bit of lore to this world, and today's the real start of that. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit the like button and consider subscribing. It really does help and allows me to keep building and playing this world. We're going to build the outline of where roads will go, put in an entrance gate to the city, and tear down the villages. The first thing I want to do is tear down the old iron farm. Goodbye, Mr. Zombie. I can't take the bee farm out yet, but that's the iron farm gone. This village will be torn down to replace with a residential area, and I want to build with all custom homes. That won't be today, but it's definitely getting closer than it's ever been. The other village will also be torn down today so we can build the rest of the city proper. If you remember the zombie horde from earlier, this is where I figured it out. I had a couple villagers running around from all this tearing down of their homes and stuff, and I turned around to see this. I'm really glad you guys respect my mob switch. Thanks. I love you guys. Let's keep tearing stuff down. And that's both cities torn down. You'll see that I left the church though. This was my very first home in the world, and even though I moved out fairly quickly, I plan to leave this as a reminder of the old city and a bit of a relic of the past. The church will always be here. So once the clearing was done, I started filling in the water around the old village. This guideline is kind of where I want the land to be. Most of the river and the lake near the hub can remain, but all this needs to be filled in and then I can outline the roads. I've started adding in where the 4 main roads will go. This road will lead up to the guild buildings like the blacksmiths and weaponsmiths. I'm going to extend this further up the hill so we have plenty of room for 8, 10, even 15 main buildings here. This angle is better to see it on. It'll curve up here, over the hillside, and up toward the cherry blossoms. At that point it becomes more of a dirt path, and who knows what's beyond that. The next main road is the one running from the hub over to the village trading hall. This one will have side roads running to the statue and the new sun temple on the hill. This is a good time to take a look at the overall picture here. I've never really explained everything I want to do at once, so if you're watching this one, you get something new. Around here is the frame for the city as I see it. Everything will eventually be built into this photo from the city entrance around this river opening to a dock along the river. Here's a spoiler alert, this dock is one of the first pieces of the city I plan to build in the next 1,000 days, possibly as early as episode 19. All the plans from episode 12 are starting to come together now, as you'll see later. On the sides of that will be a military training area, as well as a residential district back here near where the iron farm used to be. A large arena will be opposite the military area with its training grounds and barracks. I'm going to put a really cool build back in this space, but I'm not ready to spoil that one yet. I can imagine a large wall around the city, hanging bridges in a few places, and a large separation between the residents and the city itself, almost as if they don't belong there. Yeah, I have tons of plans for this. Let's get back to making them a reality. Let's get into the lore I mentioned earlier. My idea of the city is that it was a thriving but divided city with a rundown, almost rustic residential zone, and a built-up, affluent, and very glamorous city. The guilds, religious temples, and trading halls are incredible structures, massive, almost works of art. However, a large stone wall and gates kept out the commoners from entering the city most of the time. On special occasions, those in charge would allow them into the city to see it in its glory and show it off. However, the city fell into disrepair, and we've moved in to bring it back to life. Unlike the old regime, I want everyone to feel welcome at all times, so I have the gate permanently open now. The walls have been mostly knocked down except for the protective outer wall for the entire city, and the residents are free to come and go. The entrance is now a welcoming and inviting gateway to the greater parts of the city. Let's build this up so I can show you what I envision. This is the general feeling that I want now. When someone enters the gate, the city unfolds ahead of them, from the trading hall to the relaxing Buddha statue island and the sun temple overlooking it all. Obviously, as more is built, it'll create an even more inviting look on our first entry. I've mined over 3,000 obsidian in this world so far, and I'm done with that. We're building an obsidian farm, or... Today we actually have 5 projects that all revolve around things that have to do with the end in Minecraft. Number 1, we're obviously going to build this obsidian farm. I am so sick of hand mining obsidian. Number 2, we're going to use a lot of that obsidian from the new farm to build a ghast farm. But why a ghast farm? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's better than our raid farm for gunpowder, and it's going to give us a ton of ghast tears for end crystals and regen potions. Number 3, we're going to kill 19 more ender dragons. After we have the ghast tears, I'm going to make 76 more end crystals to fight 19 resummoned ender dragons. That'll open up all the gateways on the island. Why? Well, because number 4, I want to build a void trader. I'll explain it more when we get there, but let's just say I need a gateway, and I'd prefer if it was a nice bit of land on both the island and the outer gateway side to make it easier and a bit safer. And finally, number 5, I just want to renovate my stronghold. Since we go to the end and through the end portal a fair bit, I think it'd be nice if it looked way cooler than this. I'm not going to design this in my spawn build style with the all Asian theme. I'm going to make it more of a universal build so that no matter what themed area I'm coming from in the future, it hopefully still looks nice and not completely out of place. The main reason I haven't built an obsidian farm now that I'm over 1200 days into the world is because this gravity block duper needs collection on the end side, and that collection interferes with the obsidian farm that I want to build. Before I can build the obsidian farm then, I want to run this duper at least a bit more so I have some of each type of block, and I don't need to activate this for a while longer. I've been AFK for a bit now, and these chests are pretty full. It doesn't really take long to fill up at 72,000 blocks per hour. A shulker holds just 1700-ish blocks. This farm fills over 20 double chests per hour. In order to tear down this storage, I collected and organized all the blocks and moved them up to this land that overlooks where the storage used to be. I've torn down plenty of stuff in this world, like the 2 villages last episode, the creeper farm early on, or the old iron farm, but tearing this down just felt great. I know the obsidian farm I'm going to put here is a necessity, and I'm really looking forward to running it. I also want to eventually put storage back here for the gravity block duper, and when I do, I'm going to go all out and make it really nice this time. While I was here, I also started spawn-proofing the main island. I want the top entire surface to be free from endermen when I fight the 19 dragons, and while I ran out of frog lights for now, I'll come back and finish this project later today. This was good progress though. Let's go build a farm. Well, the farm is working. The wither's been summoned into a trap and will constantly break the 9 obsidian under itself. The snow golem and silverfish on the overworld side will keep the wither attacking because the snowballs are going through the portal and hitting him. The platform regenerates and then he breaks it again. The whole time, skulls fly over my head and I trust ENX04 with my entire hardcore world because let's be honest, I can't move. If the wither sees me anywhere except this spot, he'll drop down, attack me, break everything, ruin the farm, and I'll have to kill a rogue wither in the end. That sounds like the plot of a horror movie. I'm running this farm on a 1-hour timer. When that's up, I simply summon an iron golem off to the side and he kills the wither for me. The wither's focused on me because I shot it with an arrow, and the golem is free to attack at will. I'm holding an enchanted apple and wearing my chest plate because as I said, I can't move. If I get hit with a skull, I can't move. I have to trust Ian, but I've also tested this farm, and later in the video I'll come back here and get hit with a skull. So chest plate, notch apple, that's how we do it. Didn't need it this time though. I have a lot of obsidian now. The farm makes roughly 32,000 obsidian per hour, or 10 times what I had mined in the entire world so far. And before this video ends, I'll run the farm 3 times for nearly 100,000 obsidian. Before I put the gravity duper back, I'll make sure I run this for another 5 hours as well. There we go, finally I have obsidian in the world. Now let's go use 2,000 obsidian for our next project. I'm building a ghast farm, and I know some of you are out there thinking, just go to the nether and fight ghasts, so I wanted to show you that yes, I did and I do. This is slightly older and out of order footage, so I apologize for any misaligned rocket and food counts, but it's a flashback to me trying it your way. Let's slightly desaturate the out of order footage so you can tell. The problem with using the nether for ghast tears is it can be hard to find ghasts sometimes, no matter where you go, even soul sand valleys. And then if you want to use your bow and looting, it requires taking off your totem. And then you have to be careful you don't drop the tears in lava that's all around you. So yes, I do fight ghasts in the nether, but not that often, it's not really worth it. Yeah, no, we're not doing this. Let's go build a farm. The farm is done, so let's test it out. I'm going to land just a little bit lower on the ladder in case they see me and break out. I don't really know what the rules are for this one. The ghast are spawning on the magma platforms below and instantly teleporting to the overworld. After a short cooldown, they're pushed back to the nether where they pop out at the kill chamber portal, and from here I can use looting 3 to stab and collect gunpowder and tears. This farm produces over 7,000 tears and 9,000 gunpowder per hour. While I'll never use 7,000 tears, the gunpowder is very handy, and having a couple hundred tears is never a bad problem to have. I'll come back soon and hit this for a few more shulkers of gunpowder, but for today, I took a full shulker of gunpowder and most of a shulker of tears home with me, and that'll do the end crystals and the potion brewing that I want to do. And speaking of potions, I then jumped into the nether and back to our blaze spawner from all the way back in episode 1. I've never done much with this spawner except get the powder for a few of the brewers. Today I thought we'd at least clean it up. This room is atrocious to work in, unsafe, and basically a nightmare to use. While I'm not ready to make this a full-on farm yet, having a nicer area to get blaze powder can't be all bad, right? I tried not to use fire res pots here, but then I decided I'd just go for it and spend a proper amount of time here. This will just about do it. We have a safe, smooth room to spawn tons of blaze in, as well as many stacks of rods to go home with. After the room was finished, I went home and started filling the potion brewers. These auto brewers are nearly done now and have so many resources preloaded into them. I've also made 96 end crystals instead of 76. Ah, math. Or as some of you know it, counting with rad. I didn't explain it in the video because it's just a side story, but counting with rad is a meme from my Twitch live streams. I have just a little bit of trouble counting on stream. Mostly it's splitting my attention 7 ways that does it, but it's very common for me to recount things 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times. I'm not dumb, I'm just easily distracted. With the exception of Rabbit's Feet, the auto brewer is actually doing really well now. There's pufferfish from the Guardian farm, phantoms from Never Sleeping, gas from our new farm. Those were some of the last ones that I had to fill. I also have 16 turtle helmets in the system. This may not seem like a lot, but keep in mind that each helmet is 5 scoots, so that's 80 scoots total, and there's 33 existing potions below in the barrel and hopper, and that cost another 55 scoots to make. Let's check in on the iron farm. Okay. I have over 23 shulkers of ingots now, plus the shulker of blocks that I've already converted. The new iron farm is so good. The next task on the list is to respawn and kill 19 ender dragons, so I'm going to tear down my beacon, dismantle my wither rose farm, and spawn proof the rest of the end island before I do though. My plan for this is very simple. I have 5 perfect bows made from my villager trades. I made a whole shulker of bows on a Twitch stream and had those as leftovers. And I guess now's a good time to announce that I'll be doing some YouTube streams on the hardcore world soon, so look out for those. I can spam the dragon with arrows all day, no big deal. Each time you defeat the ender dragon, a new gateway opens up, and so far 1 gateway is open. We did that one all the way back in episode 1 when I got my elytra and did a little end raiding. Now I want to open the rest of them. Resummoning the dragon would break the wither rose farm, so I preserved the materials for that and relocated them off to the side. And 40 frog lights later, the end island is also spawn proof on the surface now. Endermen can spawn around the edge, and after the crystals are destroyed they can respawn at the top of towers, but none can spawn directly on the island. That makes it way less likely that I'll look at one during these 19 fights. Let's get started. This was never in doubt, right? It's 19 up, 19 down, all the gateways are open, and it's mission accomplished. Let's go build a void trader. This portal opened up on the best piece of solid land that I could find. I only had to build out a little bit and do very minor terraforming to make it completely safe. I like that. you don't know what a void trader is about, it could be pretty confusing, so let me explain. I'm building a void trader, and that will be used to infinitely trade with villagers, especially librarians, clerics, and stonemasons. So let me explain how it works, then I'll explain why I put the villagers in the way that I do. A void trader essentially pushes your player from the end island to the outer end, and then back to the end island. This loop teleports you over 1,000 blocks instantly. However, you can do the teleportation with the villager's trading GUI open. Usually you can only trade with a villager a couple of times a day until their trades lock, and then you have to wait. If you paid attention to me doing these trades back at home, you know that I have 7 clerics in order to trade just 14 times a day to collect as much redstone as I can. If I need more than 7 trades worth, I just have to wait or run the raid farm. The raid farm is fast, but it's around 5,000 redstone per hour, so it's not as fast as I would like. So enter the void trader. When I bring a cleric to the outer end and trade with him, he'll lock me out the same as a normal villager. But if I open his trade interface on the outer island, then I go through the gateway and complete the trade while I'm on the main end island. When I head back to the outer island, the villager doesn't know that I traded with him because I was 1,000 blocks away and he was unloaded. So he lets me trade again. And again, and again, and again. Now let's apply that to the villagers I've chosen. I've got 1 cleric, 1 librarian, and 9 stonemasons. Why a librarian? Well, I can infinitely trade for glass, ender pearls, bookshelves. That's pretty awesome. Why 9 stonemasons? Well, one of the things I don't enjoy collecting is terracotta and glazed terracotta, and some of the stone variants are also a pain to craft. Masons can also sell dripstone blocks. Those are all awesome trades, so I want a large variety of them. And the cleric is redstone. All redstone. Bottles of enchanting and other things, but redstone. And infinite... I did mention redstone, right? Redstone is actually a big problem to obtain in a world like this. I need a lot of redstone. However much redstone dust you think I've needed, multiply it by hundreds. By the 2,000 day mark in this world, I've used well over 50,000 redstone dust already. I use the raid farm, the clerics, the void trader, and it's still generally barely enough to get me through. And yeah, I know 121 nerfs my stacking raid farm. We'll deal with that before I upgrade the world when 121 is officially out. I don't plan to upgrade this world to 120.5 or 120.6 before then. The trading hall is now built, and it's a rather complicated machine by Strom, it'll be linked in the description, but essentially it has everything I need. There's a villager breeder built in, a zombification chamber, or what he calls zombie negotiations, and then it will return carts to the gateway and back to their home. Moving a zombie and 2 villagers in isn't much fun, it's not meant to be that difficult though. I simply went to my outpost, built a small staircase up to the portal, and from there it was as easy as finding a zombie and walking him on in. If nothing else, getting a zombie to simply follow you a long distance is not that difficult. And on the way there, I name-tagged him Dingus. My end stronghold portal is on the roof, so after a few minutes of luring him across and in here, I was able to just bop him into the end portal, go through myself, and walk him near a gateway. Once he was in the boat, I realized not setting up the rails beforehand was a mistake. Trying to get him into the cart through the gateway after bopping him while fighting to get him in and causing damage. It was a mess. I tried so hard and got so far, it didn't even matter. Meet Dingus 3. Do not ask about Dingus 2. This is Dingus 3 and he's being a pain in the butt. He's standing on a trapdoor instead of falling into the hole he's meant to be in. Here, let me show you. Get off the trapdoor, Dingus number 3. Maybe his name was a mistake. I need to block him in now. Why does it always come down to hitting them where I need them to go? If I kill this one... Ugh, got him. Fine, Dingus 2 is in the void. It was my fault.
I'm not explaining further.
Okay, this is the only time I'm ever telling this story. I tried to minecart Dingus 2 all the way into the farm. I forgot to put a blocker where I wanted the rail to end, so the cart just ran off the rails and kept going. And going. And going. And going. It's probably still going. He's in the void somewhere. I'm never talking about it again. After Dingus 3 was in, I moved villagers. With the rail now set up correctly, that was actually pretty easy. Here they are, and I'm feeding them, and they can breed me some villy babies. Babies are a bit slow to grow up, and I need 11 bred at 2 per day. That's 6 in-game days, and if you don't know, it's about 2 full hours of doing basically nothing in the end. So let's skip forward those 2 hours, because this was boring. After I had some of those villagers, it was time to go home and make some splash weakness potions. I set up my last auto brewer to do this, and quickly had over 30. After I grabbed some golden apples, I went back and sent some of the boys to zombie negotiations. The cleric isn't really a great option. The stuff that I want from him costs 1 emerald, redstone, lapis, I guess glowstone is 4, and bottles of enchanting are 3, so we'll send him over there, away you go. After he gets zombified, I can send him back, and once he's home and in place, cure him from there. It's a splash pot of weakness, plus a golden apple, and then we wait. Through the magic of television, that 5-minute wait is now over, and there we go. And now everything I want from him costs 1 emerald. Okay, Mr. Librarian, it's now your turn. I won't really have to convert the masons. Nearly everything is already 1 emerald, and there's almost no point. They aren't going to suddenly give me 20 bricks per emerald, unfortunately. Welcome back, Mr. Librarian, sir. Here, have this, and I brought you an apple. I would like to give to you. How do I do this? That string is actually in the way. While I wait for the librarian to convert back, it's worth trading with the masons now. I need to get them all up to master level, so no matter which one I'm using, I can get the quartz trade at the very end of their list. I also wanted to set up which terracotta trades they had and decide if they needed to be replaced. You'll see the trades I start to get, including dripstone, polished diorite, andesite, and granite, blue terracotta, as well as pink, black glazed, green, red, orange, and cyan. While I have a couple of overlaps, I'll keep them for now, and if I really need to change them, the breeder's still running. There's my librarian. Bookshelves now cost 3, name tags 14, and the sharpness 5 book is down to 30. You know what? I'm kinda greedy, and Dingus 3 is kinda hungry. Let's run it back. After another quick round of negotiations, bookshelves are now 1, sharpness is 5, and name tags are 7. Let's buy a bunch of name tags for now. I think this guy's had enough. He's done. As promised, I ran the obsidian farm a bit more before I had to remove the overworld side. I've stood in front of a wither here now a few times, but I never have any less fun. Yeah, nothing about wither skulls going 1 inch over my head is at all unsafe. Remember how I said the wither can hit you? Well, this is what I mean. For no reason, I'm going to take a wither skull to the dome here. I'm not going to crouch, I don't move, but he's going to smack me. If he only hits me once, I can just eat a pork chop, and I will do that, but I don't know why this happens sometimes. It's not meant to. An obsidian farm, ghast farm, 19 dragons, and a void trader is already a heck of an episode, but I'm not done today. All of our projects have in some way been about the end, and I have one more in mind, but these guys have to go. I'm in this stronghold way too often to see a plain vanilla room any longer. My plan is to empty out a pretty big area here, renovate this room to be something more interesting to look at. I'm going to remove the end portal frame as well, so I only have the portal here itself, and I'll use this as a central piece on the floor. As far as style, you may be surprised, but I'm not doing it in the Fantasy Asian build style that I've been using. This is my main stronghold portal for the whole world, so I want to make sure it doesn't just fit one of my build areas. You're probably also not that surprised since you saw the thumbnail. But I'm going to make this a bit more, let's say, custom. I want it to be a little dark and moody, and I don't get to play with that style too much in this world yet. Unfortunately, I also discovered a huge water cave above this stronghold portal as I started to dig out the room for my build. This is not a small cave. All of the water needs to go. Up here, over there, over here. It all has to get dried out. I have a fairly large ocean around the industrial island, so starting from there I was able to find a few monuments and sponge rooms, and in that came back with just over 3 stacks of sponge and even a few new tide trims. And then back at the dig site, it's going well. Unfortunately, I'm digging down to deep slate. That's not fun. Have I mentioned I hate digging deep slate? Even with a beacon, it's just a pain. If you're wondering how I'm repairing constantly without being at the Guardian farm, it's those bottles of enchanting that I mentioned earlier. I bought 5 or 6 stacks from the Void Trader, and that's a couple pickaxes full and elytra repairs as well. This is looking exactly how I wanted it to look. It's dark, it's moody, but it's completely spawn-proof. The soul campfires, the dragon eggs, and especially the gradient lights inside the armor stand cases just looks incredible to me. I love how this is turning out. On the nether roof side, I'm going to be a little silly with this and make each side connect to the correct portal. It's by no means necessary, but it's fun and I liked it. I think it's a very clear reminder of which portal this is when I'm flying around the nether roof to see the 4 sides and know that they connect to the 4 colors in the stronghold room. A few tests to confirm that it works, and that's all working perfectly. So now I just want to finish the decor. I already put a dragon egg in each portal frame, and I'm going to add an end crystal, some wither skulls, and some soul lanterns. That's looking pretty sick, actually. I think the Stronghold Reno and all the other end projects today have been a lot of fun. These 8 armor stands will get filled with armor and name tags later, and I know exactly who's going here. Each armor will be color matched in silence trim, so lapis for blue, emerald, redstone, and gold for the rest. What do you think of this one? As always, if you enjoyed the episode, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe so YouTube does its algorithmic things. And that's 3 epic building episodes in a row. If you're missing my over-the-top farms, don't worry. Next episode is more over-the-top than I've ever gone. This farm makes 75,000 cobblestone per hour. So listen, I get it. You're already thinking, why do you need 1 million per hour? And that's a valid point. I don't need 1 million cobblestone per hour, but I didn't need 8,800 iron ingots per hour either. I didn't need a massive gas farm or a 32,000 per hour obsidian farm, but I want them. Not all Minecraft worlds need to be stupidly overpowered and over the top, but this one does. To show you how great this farm is though, before the episode is done, I'm going to craft a shulker of observers, a shulker of droppers, thousands of pistons, sticky pistons, and dispensers, using more than 20 shulkers of cobblestone in the process. I'll also use cobblestone throughout the Asian city, and even more when I get to build number 3 if we survive that long. I have some cool ideas, and cobblestone's a huge part of them. But first, I've slacked on this egg drop for too long. I don't talk about it nearly enough, so let's catch up and let's talk about it. I'm recording the voiceover bits of this video in January 2024. 1 year ago at this time, I had barely 2,500 subscribers on the channel. Now we've just passed 30,000 subscribers. As of recording this, we've actually just passed 40,000 subscribers. We're going to be halfway there, and I'll update the egg soon. And that's incredible to me. So many of you leave me comments saying you thought I was bigger or I should be bigger or whatever and have more subs, and I appreciate all that, but I want you to know that I'm grateful for the 30,000 people who have pressed the button. So today I'm going to do a bit of service work for you guys. I'm going to place every single one of your eggs, even though that's about double what's currently already here. At the time I recorded this, we were at exactly 30,763 subscribers. By the time you see this, it's gone up, but that's my exact count as of today. I've been avoiding this next layer because I need to build up and add more signs as the egg starts to go further out from here. But this is the last time it goes out, so I should be happy, but it's a bit tricky to make sure nothing falls early. If you forgot or didn't see that episode, we're dropping 100,000 eggs on the monument below once we hit 100,000 subscribers on the channel. The dragon eggs are being shaped in the form of a dragon egg, and I've already done all the math and planning to make sure that A, we get to 100,000 eggs, and B, it won't crash my PC. Trust me, it'll be fine. Let's place some eggs. After an hour or so of that, we're nearing 25,000 eggs. There's just 21 to go. And that right there is 24,999. And this makes 25,000 eggs. If you subscribe to my channel before October 20th, 2023, your egg is in this pile. It's now been placed. It is very dark, and hard to see the black eggs at night, but I'm close to the goal now, so I had to bring it back from here. It's hard to explain just how thankful I am for every single person who's chosen to press the subscribe button and stuck around. I see so many of you comment on every episode. My super fans are here first, and there are so many repeat commenters that I couldn't possibly name you all. And this is now caught up. There are 30,763 eggs placed in this world. Without everyone who's represented by these eggs and the hundreds of thousands of you who watch without pressing the button, doing what I do is impossible. So with the greatest possible feeling, thank you so much. Now let's go have fun and make people mauled over a farm. Gathering the materials to build large redstone contraptions could be an episode all of its own. First I had to fix the clock on the raid farm, then I had to run the raid farm for redstone. And yes, I have a void trader, but I need emeralds to use it, so here we are. And there I was for a good 20 minutes. I love this raid farm, but I think we'll need a faster one someday. And then I got plenty of emeralds, and then we can hit the void trader up for extra redstone too. And then I need to trade with this guy for some glass, and then I'll need to head to the nether for lava buckets. And yes, I have a lava farm, but I need a lot of buckets of lava, and I don't want to wait for the farm. I'll need a faster lava farm someday, but not today. 1 fire resistance potion later, and 2 in the inventory, and off we go. After more than an hour of collecting all of this, we now have 18 full shulkers of the materials I need to build this 1 farm. So let's talk about this farm. I found a cobblestone generator that makes over 200,000 cobblestone per hour, and what better way to get rates than put 5 of them in one spot and collect 1,000,000 cobblestone per hour. The base of the farm is made by Herb MC and is the fastest single module cobblestone farm I could find. I normally use the 75,000 per hour design shown earlier, and I also found a few in between at 120,000, 180,000, but this was by far the best. Also, if you're out there and want a tutorial to exist for this thing, Herb, let me know. I'd love to be the one. It's a fantastic farm, and more people should know your name. We're making good progress on the storage so far, and yes, everything I've done up until now is just storage. What I'm building are 14 8x speed shulker loaders. Each loader is 8 times faster than a single hopper, so this system collects at 112 times hopper speed, which is incredibly fast, and barely fast enough for this farm. I do like that building this part is fairly repetitive. I can just learn it, do it, and keep going. Don't laugh at me saying this, but the way this farm works is actually quite simple. The cobblestone that I'm placing is a placeholder for the cobblestone that will be destroyed as the farm runs. The lava that I'm placing will connect with the water in the ring of stairs on each corner to form new cobblestone. A couple of internal water streams that aren't in place yet will complete the cobblestone and lava connections, and cobblestone will blow up, get reformed, and blow up over and over again. I need to put 8 lava buckets in each of the 5 modules, layer by layer, as each one needs to be a lava source, not flowing lava. So now we repeat that a bunch of times and finish off the redstone. Let's get this whole thing done. Let's talk about the water suppression mechanic going on at the bottom of this farm. This increases the rates and gets the cobble out of the farm before the next TNT blows up, but how you do it's a bit weird. I've jumped into a creative world to show you the schematic for how it's done. Inside of this is the slab and trapdoor that you'll see in the farm, and all the stuff we build around it traps the water in, but then the way that we remove the blocks means the water won't get updated and will stay in this weird shape. I've set up a simple example using wood as the cobblestone line down the slab and trapdoor, and I waterlog this in order, first the trapdoor, and then the slab, and then we add water at the top of the farm. Once that's done, I can break the redstone blocks first to unpower everything, and now I can safely remove all the blocks, and you can see I've made the water exactly the same as in the farm. This isn't because I'm in a creative test world, this is how the mechanic works. Now I just need to go do it 10 more times in the actual farm. With the farm now built, I added a lot of shulkers, enough to fill all the way around the farm and back to this chest. This farm is very fast, so I've put 2 double chests of shulkers in addition to filling the entire farm, and that was nowhere near enough. So here's a look at the completed farm. A 5x version of Herb's amazing cobblestone farm doesn't exist outside of this. We didn't nab this off the internet to make it. It's a brand new creation, so what you're seeing now, nobody's ever seen. I think that's kind of cool. We're not done today by any means, but I want to say thanks to ComView for all the help with the storage, collection, and connective redstone for this farm. Wouldn't have been possible otherwise. Okay, so there's nothing in the farm right now, and I bet you want me to turn this thing on, right? I could do the YouTuber thing and make you wait till the end of the video. But you guys know I'm not like that. Nope, it's running. Let's take a closer look. This is an incredible POV. It's a great view from down here, and you can see the cobblestone being formed by the lava and water, as well as the synchronized TNT. I thought about making the TNT go off in waves, but it didn't actually look as good in testing. This is an insane amount of items at once. The cobblestone sometimes looks like it'll get stuck in the water, but if you watch any given piece for a moment, it'll start to move. That's just the way the water is on this collection platform. Let's see how we're doing after what's been a pretty short test. I have 8 shulkers of cobblestone. Are you kidding me? Okay, I've done the math. I know 1,000,000 per hour is fast, but it's almost 14,000 cobblestone actually in my storage. Not in the 14 shulker loaders, but out of the system already in just a couple of minutes. This farm is something else, holy. My frames are fine, my MSPT is fine, I'm not suffering by running this farm in any way in the world. I've run this farm before in testing, but never for very long. This farm is mind-bending, even though I've seen it run before. I could watch the cobble blow up all day, but I'd run out of shulkers pretty quickly. Let's go run it for a while. I let it run for a little while I did some other stuff, and this is what I came back to. This is 182 shulkers of cobblestone, or just over 300,000 pieces. 300,000. And that took under a half an hour to get. Okay, this part of the world looks good. Let's take one more look before we head to the next project. This farm actually looks pretty cool with shaders on, doesn't it? And our next stop is the bartering farm because I'm going to need a ton of quartz for our massive crafting session. While I'm here, it reminds me that we're going to need a new bartering farm soon. I love this one and it's fast, but sorting the drops myself later just isn't very much fun. I do love how many drops we get in such a short time though. Don't ask me why I'm back here. Okay, listen, give me a chance. I ran low on shulkers, so I brought more back. And I forgot to grab shulkers for our crafting while I was showing off the drops, so I had to come back here, okay? I mean, I didn't have to technically run the farm, but shh. Also, the CNX04 tree farm is a great early game farm, but it's not fast. We're gonna need to work on tree farms soon as well. Thankfully, I have the dark oak farm, and this thing is very fast. So how do you use shulkers and shulkers of cobblestone? Well, let's take a look at some crafting recipes. Droppers take 7 cobblestone per dropper. A shulker of droppers takes 7 shulkers of cobblestone. Dispensers also take 7 per, and we'll make a bunch of those as well. Observers take 6 cobblestone per one, but 2 redstone. Yikes. That's another 6 shulkers of cobblestone used right there, and then we'll get to pistons and sticky pistons later, but yeah, let's get some of this going. If you're wondering why I need so many of each component, it's based loosely on what I've used in the world so far. I've already used more than a shulker of observers, a shulker of pistons, and over half a shulker of droppers, and that's in just 1,500 days. Imagine what I'll have used by day 5,000 with all the big redstone farms still to come. I'm hopeful that crafting all of this now will save us some of that material gathering time later, since I won't have to craft everything project by project. Gathering the stuff for each project takes so much time and it's kind of boring to show you, so it'd be great to simplify that a little bit more for me. As I'm making these components, you'll see I got ahead of myself here. I ended up making a ton of sticks, turned it into redstone torches so I could make comparators and repeaters as well. I was happy to be crafting and kept going, but it did use almost all my redstone in the entire world though. The raid farm and the void trader still aren't enough for how much I go through. So I'm completely poor on redstone blocks again, but I have a whole row of redstone torches, comparators, repeaters, a shulker of observers, a row of dispensers, a whole shulker of droppers, but it's back to the void trader and then back home. Now I can finish 2 rows of pistons and 2 rows of sticky pistons in total for just over 2,300 pistons crafted today alone. Crafting dispensers and pistons is painful, that's why I didn't complete whole shulkers. I mean, I'm also constantly out of redstone, but mostly it was the pain of making them. Autocrafting in 1.21 is going to be pretty interesting. It'll mean a lot of work on existing farms, but that work's going to pay off big. I won't get too far ahead of the crafting overall in the world because it'll be pointless in 6 months. Today I used over 21 shulkers of cobblestone to craft these new components. I'll call that a good start. It's time to go do more trading, but I won't keep you here for now. Next time we build Lego in Minecraft. A couple of days before Christmas I completed the Lego Tranquil Garden set on 2 live streams. This is a 1300 piece set with cherry and spruce trees, a tea house with a stone path, a small red bridge crossing a river, and some small decor. It's quite a detailed set, and finishing it took us over 6 hours. You can actually watch the entire live stream if you'd like over on my Long Plays channel, which is linked in the description. When we finished the build, I explained to the community that we would then build the exact same thing in my Minecraft world. I chose the Asian theme set because it would fit in my build district, and today we're going to build the Tranquil Garden set in Minecraft. Also, I'm going to continue building my city, so we'll build 5 sentry towers around the outer edges of the city. As always, all of that starts with material gathering and build prep in my storage room. One thing I miss when I'm not streaming my hardcore worlds is being able to do these kind of necessary bits behind the scenes with all of you. It gives you as a viewer more context in the world. You really start to learn where stuff is and how I get to and from it. That being said, I've already started to bring some live streams of this hardcore world here to YouTube. There's no set schedule for those, so make sure you've turned on notifications if you'd like to catch me live playing in this world. We'd love to have you come in and chat. Oh, and check it out, I finally caught a zombie piglin in my base. The trap works so well that I never actually see them. After I run the smelter for some cracked deep slate, grab some leaves for the cherry trees we'll make later, I needed to run the tree farm for all kinds of wood types. Today I'm after cherry, acacia, which only kind of works in this farm, but it's still better than manual collection, and then birch. I heard someone say recently that birch is the ugliest block in the game, and stripped birch is the best looking. I think that's kind of funny, but it's also very true. Another wood type for this build will be mangrove, and that's painful as I have to manually collect it. Maybe I need a really nice tree farm area soon with a bunch of omega powered tree farms. That would definitely improve our rates on almost all the farms and the woods we need in the world, so yeah, that's an idea. While creating the banners for the sentry towers we'll build later, I learned something interesting. I rarely use the loom, like almost never have in all of my time playing Minecraft, so I'm very newbie with it, and I needed something called a flower pattern, but I've probably only used one ever. When I looked it up in game, it said I'd need an oxeye daisy. I'm making quite a few banners, so I went to a flower forest and collected as many as I could. Some of you know where this is going now. I did not. After collecting the oxeye daisies, I decided to craft the flower pattern mid-air while flying home. I did realize that if I closed my inventory here, I'd lose all the extra paper I had with me, so I kept the crafting open until I got near my iron farm and I could drop it. I managed not to lose anything and got home with all my patterns and all the extras. And that's when I realized it's not using them up. It's not taking them. It doesn't use a pattern to use a pattern. I only needed one, which I would have had the oxeye daisy in the plains around my base. I could have done all this in about 45 seconds. You really do learn something new all the time. I learned I didn't need any of this. Oh well, that's collection for the Lego build, and the 5 sentry towers done. I love having that finished early in the day. I've had a spot chosen for the Lego build since before Christmas when we completed the actual IRL project. However, it would look weird just floating on top of the water here where I want it, so I chose to build these 3x3 wooden pillars to hold it up. I understand it's not at all necessary Minecraft-wise, but it made the build feel a bit more realistic and finished to me. There are 6 of these pillars total under the base of the set, so yes, it looks like it's floating, but it's not, and that was the point. As I started to build this base, I realized something was happening. This guy is very unhappy with me. I don't think he liked me building this here. I know there was a little discussion in the comments recently about me using a mob switch at all, but as you can see here, I'm not using it for everything and disabling mobs entirely. Sometimes it's more interesting to have these little interactions with a couple of trident hurling monsters. As soon as I would kill one trident drown, another would spawn. This area is actually a haven for drown, and maybe I should have put a trident farm here instead. But yeah, there are now 2 trying to kill me. That's 3 trident wielders in 60 seconds, and not one dropped a trident. Kinda sad. Okay, back to building. The base of this is looking pretty much how I want. The first cherry tree and the spruce are all in place, and the Lego set has a curved and a tall straight spruce tree. I want both of those in here as well as the 3 short little ones. The stone path and the red bridge are looking good, and the river cuts through the whole set perfectly, exactly as I wanted. I don't see myself ever being a custom tree god, but a year or so ago I lived in a dirt house, so we're actually getting somewhere. With the build near completion, I decided to grab some of the tropical fish that I want in the river. The actual Lego build has these tiny little koi water blocks, which are a bit of fun, so I wanted to replicate that in my own way. In the end, I collected 8 different varieties of fish, mostly colorful ones, and headed home to drop them in the pond. Out building. I realized after putting a few in that they aren't name tagged and these fish may actually despawn. I'm not sure since they've been in a bucket, but I don't want to lose my fish, so I did go rename them. All the fish are now renamed to their species, so the yellow tang is named Yellow Tang, the anemone is named Anemone, and of course the clownfish is named Nemo. I could drop those in the river now. What I find funny about fish is no matter how you place them, and I try to separate them here, they're always going to group up and go to 1 or 2 blocks. They're going to look good for a little while, but I almost guarantee by the time you're seeing this, and I've filmed episodes 15 and maybe 16, these fish have either disappeared for no reason, or have grouped into 1 block under a bridge or something. I don't know why. I went out of my way to separate them quite far for the build though. Future Rad here, while working on episode 16 I realized they're just running away from me. So eventually they group together as far away from me as they can get. Imagine a stinky fish telling you that you smell bad. With everything done, I want to look at the final project, and this tree was so annoyingly in the way. Large oaks have a way of being super annoying, so I chopped it down. So this was the final LEGO set IRL. Tea house, stone path, red and wooden bridge, some trees and garden pagodas. Here's the official product picture as well, so you can see what I was trying to do here. No matter how much I ever practice building and become better, I don't think I'll ever be as happy at a finished build as I was with this one. My pagoda and the sun temple are probably better, but taking this LEGO product and creating something from scratch that had the same look, and more importantly the same feel, was an incredible leap of building for me, and I had no idea I could even do this. When I originally said I was going to do this, I had no idea how I was going to make this come to life. Minecraft can make reproduction of IRL buildings or materials very tricky, but I'm super pleased with how this all turned out. From the stone paths to the trees, up to the tea house, it looks exactly as I imagined it when I said I was going to do the LEGO set. The tea set detail, the shoes by the front door, and the lamps. I added a bench here that isn't in the original, but I thought it fit and I wanted to give it a small touch of my own. From this bench I can see the Buddha and the floating island as well. Onto the sentry towers. If we're going to have a valuable city in a world that's out to kill everyone and everything, I think it only makes sense to add in some defenses and protection for our residents. Around the edges of the build zone I'm going to add 5 sentry towers. The other areas will be covered by gated entries later. That's 1 tower done and 4 to go. Before I start those, let me show you around. The door to each tower faces in toward my base. That's the most protected side and where our paths will connect up to them later on. There are bells on nearly all the levels so the guards could sound an alarm, and I left iron bars for safe shooting, and I know you can't shoot through them in Minecraft really, but this isn't also really going to protect my base. We're just playing the game. Shh. Don't tell anyone. Some levels have a trapdoor to allow the guards to stop and shoot out of these stone peek holes, and the watchtower level itself can easily oversee 4 sides of the tower with a protective barrier. The guards can shoot out, but not easily be shot back. This is another well-protected layer with plenty of visibility to everything, and then the top room is our last line of defense for the guards with 1 last bell. And here's the first tower done. It's darker and more serious than my red and white builds or my pink pagoda, and that's intentional. I want this to look like the more militaristic style for our city. The black banners will carry the same pattern as my portal, but in a different color scheme. I guess I should have remembered how the flower charges worked, but I guess I didn't. This first tower keeps watch over the LEGO build, the Buddha statue, and the trading hall. Eventually I'll connect all these to the main city, but for now let's just show that it kind of needs to connect somewhere here. Don't mind me, I'm just admiring my own world. I do this from time to time. I really love how everything in this world is turning out. Well, we have an old saying.
A little is good, more must be better.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Let's build 4 more towers. I built the last 2 towers on a YouTube live stream that's still listed on my channel, so you can watch me build those in their entirety since today is a bit of a shorter episode. But here's my favorite shenanigan from that day. This is something I've wanted to have in this world for ages, and we haven't fixed up since I got the stuff. That goes there. That goes there. That goes there. Let me out. No, don't hit the tree! No! No! Wait, I remember why I didn't do this! I remember why I didn't do this! I remember why I didn't do this! I put it... This is probably my favorite moment from these 1,000 days. Even now it makes me laugh when I hear the panic in my own voice and the wheezing laugh that comes after when I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Last episode we built a Lego set and 5 sentry towers, and today, well, this should probably be 2 or maybe even 3 episodes. But we're going to do it in 1 because I don't seem to have any common sense or time management skill at all. For episode 16, we're making 16 farms. So 16 small farms, right? No. Well, yes, some are small farms, but 2 of them are massive endgame-worthy farms, and some, you'll see. So, what's on today's list? A moss farm, a new tunnel bore, copper farm, a mass crafter, a blaze farm, tropical fish farm, AFK fish farm, pink petal farm, lava farm, powder snow farm, pumpkin shearing converter, hanging root farm, vine farm, drip leaf farm. Oh yeah, and fallen breath 72,000 per hour ice farm, which broke me. A lot of you asked why this farm broke me or what I meant by that. The ice farm isn't overly complicated, but it's a farm that takes both a lot of concentration and then a mindless grind, and then more concentration and then more mindless grind. Then more concentration. Upward facing observers that can trigger flying machines that you then have to rebuild for the 4th time. It's that sort of thing. It was needlessly intense and then mind-numbingly boring just before being needlessly intense. So what I meant to say was I hated building this farm because it just took so much mental effort to complete, to both focus and then completely lose focus and enjoy the grind. Our first farm today is a small and very easy pink petal farm. I have flower farms for most of the dye colors already, and I want to make sure that I have them all. The simplicity of this farm is that pink petals work like 2 high flowers. You simply bone meal them and get more.
Obvious.
By putting it on mud, a hopper below will pull straight through it. A dispenser for bone meal and some glass to contain it is most of what I already need to make this work. Back-to-back observers will start it up, and check it out, you can already see the dispenser firing and the pink petals coming out. The lever will let me turn it on and back off, and that's what, like 12 blocks for our first farm? Hopefully they're all this easy. Okay, while we're on the Mushroom Island, let's take care of another farm or 2 that I need. Later in the video, we're going to make a massive ice farm, and when we do, I need to protect the redstone components in the lower bits of the farm from the snow while I build it. Upward-facing observers that then get snow built up on them can send a redstone signal that prematurely fires the system, and you never want that. And while I already have a farm that produces some moss, it's mainly for bone meal, and moss is a byproduct of it. I need a fast, dedicated moss farm, as moss will be the roof over our ice farm during construction. Moss is simple to place and destroy as a temporary block, and having a fast farm means I can despawn it all when I'm done without caring too much. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. It's a 6-module automatic moss farm. The lava and water make stone, which the pistons push and break up. The moss in the center is never destroyed, so it gets bone mealed to make more, and then the broken moss gets washed away with water dispensers and into storage. We auto-compost just enough to keep the farm self-sustaining and save the rest as moss, so it produces the maximum moss while being 100% self-sufficient on bone meal. I did play with the default amount of bone meal getting sent back to the farms to keep it very minimal, and here's where we're at. And now if I come up near the end of the hopper line, you can see that each hopper is maintaining a full bone meal level. In fact, I get just a little bit of bone meal out of the system in overflow as well. But it's the moss that I'm here for, and project number 3 is going literally right next to the moss farm. Since I need to be here running this farm and sitting AFK, I decided that this would be the perfect spot to keep an AFK fishing farm. This farm will give me treasure loot as well as fish, as if I was fishing in the open ocean. Let's talk about this boat alignment. Getting the boats aligned for this farm is a nightmare. You have to align hitboxes to just barely overlap the ground, and then just barely overlap the previous boat, and nothing can go wrong with that, right? This first boat goes on a chain, a little bit like this, then you drive it as far left and forward as you possibly can without falling into the water. Again. Then you put a boat on a block here, let it fall on top of the first, then you hop in that one and drive it to precisely the correct position without nudging the bottom one or falling in. Again. I didn't have a fishing rod yet, but I thought I knew some place that often has them. These little drown temples. Let's see if we can go get a trash tier fishing pole to start with. Yep, this one has Curse of Vanishing and nothing else. That is trash tier. Cool. Surely this will be easy to align and nothing will go wrong. Ah, crap. Here's a tip. Don't fish the very hard to align boat. I'm so good at Minecraft.
Hopefully they're all this easy.
After that very easy fix that only took like 20 minutes longer than building the farm itself, we're ready to do some peaceful AFK fishing. I already hate this farm. Once I got the bobber in the right spot, however, the farm does work well, and then I can just use F3 and T to automate the fishing, and it will pull in fish, trash, and treasure now, and I can run both moss and bone meal farms at the same time, and sit here quietly earning a bit of extra loot. Never under any circumstances use this farm. It is complete and utter junk. I would have been better off kicking my desk with my pinky toe. Okay, let's go get a much better fishing rod built. I want Luck of the Sea 3, Lure 3, Unbreaking, and Mending on this. And then we'll do a little bit of enchanting so I don't have to roll fishing book villagers, and we can easily disenchant the wrong books, enchant the right ones, and all of that while having all the XP we could ever want just behind us. Our next project is a mass crafter. This allows me, as the name says, to craft a lot of items very fast. In order to use this mass crafter, you need Tweakaroo. That's a mod I use that helps me do a lot of repetitive tasks a little bit faster so I can get back to farms and building and playing the game rather than standing at a crafting table getting RSI. If you're using Tweakaroo and you're not using a mass crafter in your world yet, you're going to want this machine I'm about to build. It can craft over 3.4 million items per hour and absolutely crushes difficult crafting like dispensers, pistons, and such. Remember all the manual crafting I recently did? Yeah, I'm an idiot. Okay, let's go grab some redstone, cobblestone, and test this thing out. I'm going to put shulkers of cobblestone into 7 of these chests and a shulker of redstone into another. If I had a shulker of bows, I could put that into the 9th one to make dispensers instead. Now I come here and turn the machine on, the shulkers will get dispensed, run over fire to burn them off, and the drops will come to me in batches. From there I can use my Tweakaroo hotkey to craft the droppers, and in seconds we're done. I know we're getting the auto crafter in 121, but for now, this will do. I know I currently have a small lava farm, but we made it all the way back around day 250 and it's definitely small and slow. When I recently needed a lot of lava for the cobblestone farm, I used the nether rather than my own farm as I knew that would be faster. I do love having a fast lava farm though, so today we're going to expand ours from 50 cauldrons up to over 300. I'm also taking down the old lava farm and the old cobblestone farm to make room for where I want the new one. And now we have the build site prepared, and it's a rather large build site and a rather large farm, so let's go do the thing. Adding lava to the farm is one of the last steps and the one that I have to be the most careful with. Falling in lava with my elytron could be quite dangerous as it's easy to get caught up in it and not have time to recover. As I don't want to pop a totem or die here, you'll see I take several precautions. Number 1, I have a fire resistance potion on my hotbar in a very easy to access spot. If I fall in, I would just like to drink that as quickly as I can. The other plan is not to fall in with my elytron. My chestplate is much better protection against the burn while I drink my potion, so if I can, I'd like to wear that whenever I'm adding the lava. And I suppose the totem will keep me from dying as it gives you fire resistance and plenty of time to escape, but let's not get that far. As far as how I'll reach the middle of this pool, that's quite simple actually. I'm going to build each layer of glass over a completed layer of lava, and then I can just stand on that previous layer to see and reach the next layer. And with the farm complete and no totems popped, it's time to test the farm. Works quite a lot like our old version, but on a much larger scale. Pistons will push the cauldrons around, giving them time to fill up under the lava-drenched dripstone. And by the time they get back around to me, many are now full. My inventory is full, so the buckets will fall out and onto the carpeted hopper. More buckets are then dispensed to me, and as long as I just hold right-click, this will work for as long as I want it to. Before you say this next farm is useless, you gotta hear me out. I build some crazy-sized projects with weird requirements sometimes. It's not easy, and any help I can build myself in the world is greatly appreciated when I need that farm. This is a water bucket farm. Yes, I know how to get water into buckets in Minecraft, but one of the items I need the most in a world is water buckets. Every farm practically on the entire list today uses water buckets in it. The mass crafter used like 30 buckets and I had to just keep refilling and flying, refilling and flying, refilling and flying. It's not the best way to do it when you need a fairly large number. And yes, it's easy, but it's not efficient. So this is a very simple but more useful than you think design. All I have to do is throw empty buckets onto the corner of water here, and they get filled and go back straight to this chest. I can drop a whole stack of 16 at a time if I want and then walk away. Let's get to something slightly more useful. Speaking of water and needing tons, Tropical Fish Farm is a very large checkerboard of bubble columns and water so fish can spawn and then get shot to the top where they flop around until I catch them. Or they die. And they die a lot. I want a tropical fish farm because I don't yet have the rare blue axolotl and I do have the other 4 colors. I want to breed a blue, and to do that we'll need likely thousands of fish. They have a rare chance of being bred, something like 1 in 1200, so imagine needing 2500 or so tropical fish to get 1 blue boy. Once the soul sand and solid blocks are in on the floor, a temporary roof will let me place water, and breaking that will fill the entire build below with flowing water. However, I need source blocks of water, so then I add kelp to the bottom, grow it with bone meal until it reaches the top, and when I break all of that, the farm is essentially done. From there, fish spawn and I catch them by walking up to them with a bucket. Very simple concept, but I have to do a bit more to make this work for my needs. Back in this section, I'm going to build 24 very small breeding chambers. The easiest way I know how to make this is to make a 1x3 of water, put glass panes above that. That way I can still reach inside to feed the axolotls. They can get air so they won't drown, but they can't escape once they're grown up, and if the babies escape, that's fine. It makes it easier to catch them if they aren't a blue one. I have the original 4 axolotls, and I want to keep them separate from the baby factory we're about to make, so I'll get them back into the shulker before we get too far, but these are the originals here. Okay, that's fish for both of them, and the first one is brown. Let's be honest, that's fine. If that wouldn't come out blue, you guys would have never believed it was true anyway, so I'm kinda glad that one came out brown. Let's put the other 2 originals in here and get a couple more fish. Surely 2 breedings, that's all it'll take, right? Right? No, very wrong. Although now I have the original 4 back in the orange shulker and safe from being mixed with all the baby spam. The one problem with running this farm will always be pufferfish. They really don't know how to keep their hands or fins to themselves, so I have to kill them whenever I can. Let's catch some fish. The babies were taking quite a while to grow up, so I'm going to keep building and make this a bit nicer. I also put the original axolotls back in the breeder for now, so you can get a few more babies out of them and then start this up a bit quicker. This roof will let me AFK here or collect fish and not have to worry about phantoms. From here the routine became simple: catch fish, lots and lots of fish, and use them to try and breed enough axolotls to fill the breeding tanks. I didn't breed a blue axolotl from this attempt, but we'll come back later near the end of the video and try again. Moving on now, our next project is to create a very large tunnel bore and a mesa. When I made all the armor trims, we used over 800 diamonds, and the old board just isn't quite fast enough anymore. It's also very expensive to build and add on to, costing 3 ancient debris per new bore. That's harder to say than it sounds. So I dug a tunnel down into the deep slate where we'll set up the new design and a new type of tunnel bore that maybe you've never seen before. I'm going to start with a small little tunnel bore, and this thing will dig most of the hole to put the larger bore into. However, I'm going to rebuild it a second time and then run it again, so we hardly have to dig at all. Why mine when you can blow stuff up, right? The small tunnel bore here is by Yizabite, and the self-assembling version was created by our lovely friend Comview, who does a lot of redstone stuff for me to make sure I don't blow myself up. The larger tunnel bore is a version of Wrecking Machine's bore, but with modifications. The design I'm using is by Underlean. There's no tutorial for this machine yet, but I'll be making one very soon, so check the description and/or pinned post to see if that's there yet. There are many benefits of building this small bore, but the primary one is that you can use it as your only tunnel bore, and it's very quick to build if you choose to go down that route. You can essentially mine as far as you want with it and make one very long mining tunnel at any Y level you like. If you want diamonds, it goes low in the deep slate near bedrock and just above the lava levels. If you want stone, diorite, or andesite though, put it higher and it becomes a very simple mining machine. Like the other tunnel bore, all I do is press this button, and the first time it'll prime the TNT and prepare it to work. But the second time I press it, alright, no in-game sounds. I got this. Something like that. While I run this a few times and it finds us diamonds and digs our hole, let me explain it a bit. This version and the bigger version of the bore are both basically holding on to lit TNT until the last second, and then a slime launcher is throwing it against the wall. And because it's all exploding midair, the explosion is way bigger than the old bore where the TNT would just land on the ancient debris. So this bore is cheaper, easier to build, easier to maintain, and works way better. You're starting to see why I built this one, right? Also, building this in the mesa is a little trick of my own design. The mesa has extra gold compared to other biomes, so not only will we get all the regular ores and blocks, but we get additional, new, and perfectly usable gold ore blocks far more frequently than if we built this in any other biome. And with the first tunnel dug, you can see that I've actually rebuilt the exact same machine just a few blocks over to clear the rest of the wall and the hole that we need. Oh yeah, I have one tip for running this. Don't stand under the TNT. Now it's time to make the much larger tunnel bore. The small tunnel bore is a tiny 3 TNT module machine that destroyed this whole area in less than 2 passes. The large version is 7 times larger at 21 TNT modules, and the bore will clear way more surface area than the old one, and functions at more than twice the speed of even that of the old full-size bore. It also means I can go reclaim almost a stack of ancient debris anytime I want it. Borkin's bore is really good, this one's just great. So here we are, it's a cheap, more effective, and easy to build diamond and cobblestone mining machine. And this has a special feature I haven't even shared yet. So much like before, we're just going to press this note block here, wait, let the machine do its thing, and... that was fun, you know me, let's do it again. From just clearing the room out and getting started, this is where I'm at now with ores. A stack and a half of diamonds, almost a stack of gold, and about 3/4 of a stack of redstone ore along with tons of cobble deep slate to build with. Now for that secret feature I mentioned earlier. The target blocks running along this bottom row are not there just to look good. I can start the tunnel bore from either end simply by shooting any of the many target blocks on the machine, even the ones in the middle. Unlike the other bore where I had to constantly restart the process, go to the note block, wait, this one I can simply aim, fire, and boom. So let's do that a bunch of times. Aim, fire, and... so that's our new trident tunnel bore. Yes, it's named that because you can throw a trident at the targets to start it too. So what did we get from that? Let's take a look. It's nearly 3 stacks of diamond ore, about 2.5 stacks of gold ore, 4.5 stacks of redstone ore, and even more loose items. That's a great success for as little as we actually did. Let's repair and get ready for the next project. One of the farms many hardcore players are actually scared of building is ENX04's copper farm. It's very fast, but it's taken out worlds before. This copper farm basically limits itself based on your computer and runs as fast as it possibly can. I won't push it today, so we won't lose the world, but when you see this farm running, you'll understand why. This farm needs a couple of long, flat strips of land from the point I want to put it in. I'll have to do a little bit of terraforming, but the island is pretty flat, so this won't be that difficult. Okay, so storage back here is basically an impulse filter, like most people are familiar with. I'm only storing copper here. I could sort any of the basic zombie drops out, but this is the only one that I really want. It's done, so let me explain it a bit. We need to bring overworld zombies to the end, and once I do, they'll chase me and I'll go down underneath here, hit the armor stand, which does damage to all those above me. They've gone into here, and so when I hit them, there's a chance they'll summon reinforcement zombies. As the zombies are underwater inside the kill chamber, they'll have a chance to convert to a drown holding a copper ingot. These are the ones that I want. The rest will spawn in with armor, weapons, or nothing. They just need to die and be the way that I spawn more in by calling more and more of their friends. I made a worse diamond sword to use with this farm, so I don't kill the zombies too quickly. I want them to spawn reinforcements, and it's time to get a few zombies into the farm to get it started. Each zombie has a 25% chance of successfully starting the farm, so I may need 4 or even 5 of them, but we'll see what we get. It looks like we have 2 to start. I want them to hold something so they don't despawn, but it doesn't really matter. I'll just stay close and move quickly. I'm using the outpost that I used for the Void Trader because it's a very simple way for me to get zombies onto the nether roof. Once I go through the same portal, they'll just chase me anywhere I want to go. It's pretty easy to hold zombie aggro as their target range is quite large. And if 2 zombies isn't enough to get the farm started, I'll probably just walk 6 or 8 more over next time. It's pretty easy to do this part. Eventually we're at the 4-way portal, and I think you'll like how this works actually. The zombies teleport instantly into the red door, and I can simply go through any of the other ones. Now they're going to be on the opposite side of the room as me, and I have time to set up the portal covering. This by far is the easiest way to get zombies in. Put a couple of blocks over the portal, stand on the middle, and they'll walk right in. Following the zombies in is the worst and scariest part. Unlike the nether where they usually walk a few steps away, in the end they're waiting for you and they instantly attack. I swapped to rockets in case they knock me off, but we're fine, let's go. I made sure the platform was connected to the main island, and now it's simply a matter of walking slowly and letting them follow me. You'll see plenty of endermen here as we get started, but what I find funny is how they'll despawn over time because we have so many zombies. I'm using the new diamond sword, and by tucking myself into the hole here, the zombies will walk down the sides of the kill chamber and start the drown conversion process. The little holes you see in the farm are for babies. These have the unintended consequence of yeeting the babies hundreds of blocks into the void once the farm is at full speed. Watch for it because once you see it, it's hilarious. Okay, so all I'll do is look straight down and start attacking and hope this kicks off the farm working. Almost immediately we'll see a new zombie coming into the farm. That's a good sign. As I hit the originals, this one gives us at least a few more new swings to keep trying. Above the surface, we'll see the drowning is converting some of the originals already, and you can see another one heading into the farm around the corner. As I kill the first ones in the farm, we're also seeing new ones come in. It's slowly picking up, and I think we've officially started the farm with just 2 zombies. From high overhead, you have a better view to see what's happening. Watch the zombies start spawning in more and more as we hit more and more of the zombies and converted drowns that are already in the farm. Once you have a steady stream like this, it's only a matter of time until there are quite a few drowns in the farm and they start dropping you tons and tons of copper. After a few minutes, most of the endermen are gone, and here come the waves of zombies now, and zoop, there goes a baby. Look how far from the farm he is. It's almost ridiculous how efficient this farm is, and this is the main reason it can crash people's game. Zombie spawns are not affected by the mob cap in this way. I can get hundreds and maybe thousands of zombies in the end at once. And this is real-time spawning. You can see 20, 30 or more spawn every time I swing my sword. There's so many they don't even fit in the farm anymore. When I'm ready to leave, I use my netherite sword to cull most of the remaining mobs. I want to leave a few in here, and as I'll show you, they've picked up some other zombie drops, so they won't despawn even when I leave the end. So I've left, now we'll go back, check on them, and here are our zombie friends. I don't have to get new zombies every time unless all of these ones despawn. And after just a few minutes of hitting the copper farm, we now have almost 19 stacks of copper ingots. Not a bad day's work and something we could do over a few hours to get much more copper. Not long ago, I opened up this room and collected some blaze rods. I didn't want to take the time to make a proper farm then, but I do now. The first thing we need to do is spawn-proof this room so I can work without blazes constantly spawning. There's a way to do this in a very specific pattern with glowstone, and if you don't know it, just try and follow along with what I do here. I will have to drink one fire res pot to get started, but that's expected. I cleared the first wave without it though. I'm going to put a solid block on all four sides of the spawner, and then glowstone on the outer sides of that, just like this. Next, I'll go out one more solid block and repeat that again, doing this on all four sides, of course. And after that, you'll just need these four diagonal ones 3 blocks from the spawner, and that's easy. Now we can work in peace. With the farm built, I'll just aim below the vines here and I can kill the blazes. You'll see there's already a few dropping in. It's not the fastest farm I've ever made, but for a spawner farm it works as intended. This is why I don't really make skeleton, zombie, or spider spawner farms though. While the blazes were spawning in and falling into the kill chamber, I thought I'd improve the farm from my side so it looks a little bit nicer. A few blazes later and I have a stack of rods already, which isn't bad. I stuck around and killed a few more until I had nearly 5 stacks, and then with the room tidied up I decided to take off. I spawn-proofed outside just a little so I know when I'm walking out I'm fairly safe here. I can't hurt. Now let's build one of the biggest farms of the episode. This is a 9,000 cauldron powder snow farm, and you may be thinking rad. Nobody needs a 9,000 cauldron powder snow farm, and you're right. But while I was researching which farm to build, as I do, I saw this. And once I saw it, everything else looked tiny and weak like that guy Neon benching the empty bar. If you know, you know. Also, it's day 1700. Cool. The ice farm needs a roof above it before you build it, and now I see what a great idea that would have been to do the same thing on this farm. Okay, let's take a look at this one. That is thousands of cauldrons just to collect snow. And now that I want it to snow, it's a perfectly blue sky day. And over in this corner we have a cart return system. Storage carts that have gone all the way around are returned here, and if the farm is off, they'll stay here until the next time you run it. They'll be started from here, and I'll add those in a second, and then they'll drop onto the rails and go all the way around the farm until they return here. And then this is the front door. I'll enter here to run the farm. The track will carry me around with empty buckets so I can spam the snow out of the cauldrons, and that all starts over here. When it snows, like it's finally started doing, you'll see that the powdered snow accumulates very fast, but not very much at a time. It looks like a lot of these cauldrons are filling up, but really they aren't. They're just getting a little bit of snow, enough to show, but not enough to collect by far. This is real time though, so this is pretty decent. Alright, let me drop in and show you how it all works. This cauldron is now at what appears to be a full level, but most aren't. Once there's snow in the cauldrons, running the farm is very simple. Let's add the collection carts here, and then buckets in here. Build my inventory with a block, and it's time to take this thing for a quick run. I just jump in the cart, push the button, and then aim forward. Then I hold right click and that's it. I can use F3 and T to hold right click for me, and now the farm is working automatically. You can already see my buckets are going down from 16 to 14 to 13. At the end of each far turn, if I don't have a full stack of buckets, it fills me back up so I can keep going. You see I'm back up to 16 empties now. The first-person view of me running this farm isn't very chill or easy on the eyes, so maybe let's go do something else. So I'm at the snow farm, but maybe not for why you think. My next farm is the elephant in today's room, the Big Bertha, the killer whale, I don't know, something huge, like that pimple I had 3 days before prom. Anyways, the ice farm is going here next to the snow farm, and if I'm getting ice, I may as well at least give myself the chance to fill these 9,000 cauldrons. Alright, say the thing, Rad. Let's build a farm. Currently, I'm making the XP farm. Wait, XP farm? I thought you said you were making an ice farm, Rad? Well, yes, but to mine 72,000 ice per hour, I'm going to need to have a way to repair my pickaxe or it will quickly break. So I'm building a piglin XP farm that shoots XP up to me while I'm mining. This farm is crazy. The design is by Fallen Breath, and like everything I can, it's linked in the description. Piglins will spawn in these giant portals, be attracted to the turtle eggs that they want to smash, fall into a pit where snow golems will aggro them to drop the XP, and then that gets slime launched up to me. I know how complicated that sounds. Try building it. And yes, there are 29 shulkers of material to build this farm, and you're getting exactly 3-ish farm episodes in the next 10 because this farm broke my spirit, my will to live. This episode should have been simply titled, Pain. Okay, I'm up to another part that I want to show you. These massive platforms are where we'll form the ice. 5 sets of platforms will spawn 5 sets of ice, and those will be pushed by 5 sets of flying machines into 2 separate ice conveyors. The conveyors will push the ice to me, and any excess ice goes into the TNT blast chambers, where TNT will eliminate the leftovers. I hate this farm. Okay, hate is a strong word, but this is my least favorite project in the world so far, and by far the biggest. It won't be my least favorite once it's done. I know it's a very worthwhile farm. Blue ice is ridiculous to get, it's very expensive, and I want access to it. This is definitely the best way. I'm just whining, but let's keep going. I did get something fun in the process of building this farm. There was a storm and I saw these guys spawn in, so I went to battle and came out with a bunch of them. I love skelly horses, and one day I'd love to do something absolutely epic with them, but for now they're gonna go in a hole in the ground. So the farm is basically built now and ready to do final touches. The first thing I need to do is light all these portals. This is definitely one of the most fun parts unless I go in one. And as you can see, the flying machines are completed and the only thing left to do is remove the roof. With that gone, this is the main chamber for the farm. Let's turn it on here and go inside. Once the farm runs for a moment, the ice will start to appear in front of me. It takes a few minutes for the first ice to make its way down to the conveyors and over to me, but eventually it will. The ice is catching up now, and I'm breaking a fairly steady stream. You'll see the durability on my pickaxe staying very close to full from the XP that's getting launched up to me from the piglin farm below. Let's turn this off though, and I'll show you how all the little parts I keep talking about work. The ice freezes in these rows here, and then the flying machines will push it forward onto the block conveyors in the center of the farm. You can see the conveyors pushing small chunks of ice in the blocks below. That goes in front of me here, and I get XP coming into my feet from down next to this chest. As you can see, it's still coming in now. The piglins are walking toward the eggs and falling into the snow golem area below. And this right here is the final project that hurt my soul and broke my technical Minecraft spirit. Can I just go build a house or something now? I'll build storage on a lot of farms soon, so I left this one as is for now. It makes 72,000 ice per hour, and I'm giving it a double chest. Good job, Red. Storage tech is my passion. The intended benefit of running the snow farm at the same time worked great. It took a long time to build that ice farm, and guess what? It snowed a lot. Look at these cauldrons. I have more snow than I'll ever know what to do with, so that's a huge positive, I guess. I've already taken a few double chests of snow buckets out of this, and there's at least 5 more double chests plus hoppers still in the farm. I'll shulker load this later too. If I was smart, I'd end the episode here. I already pseudo-raged about the ice farm build, but I'm not that smart. Let's finish strong and get the rest of these farms done. I don't know what's wrong with me either, don't worry. My first stop was back to the tropical fish farm. I really wanted to get you and me a blue axolotl in this episode. So I tried, and tried, and tried. I bred more than 500 axolotls using over 1,000 tropical fish. Over and over, I got everything but blue. This is the place where I'm meant to tell you that after hours of grinding, we got it. But we did not. Instead, I'm going to build 4 more farms. We're not even doing a time lapse for this one, okay? Ready? This is our new pumpkin carving machine. It's automated, it works great. Let's keep going. Next on the list is a vine shearing farm. This works by me standing in the water and getting pushed in a loop. The vines grow in front of my face and I collect them. If I break my shears, new ones are automatically dispensed to me so I can keep going. It's super easy and a useful farm. Let's build it. And once I put the vines in, this farm is actually already done. Vines will be useful for mossy cobble and mossy stone bricks as well as their slab and stair variants. Vines can also craft banner patterns, block entity movement, and absorb fall damage. This is the simple setup for now on how I get more shears. I get carried around by the water stream while looking this way. Oh look, a hanging root farm just appeared out of nowhere. Okay, I fixed up the storage and took this one seriously, but now it's a very, very easy, very fast farm, and it works perfectly. And finally, I ducked into this cave just to get a few drip leaf. And just like that, we have a drip leaf farm too. That works. Okay, somehow that happened. We built everything I had planned for this episode. Hey all, welcome in. I'm Rad and today we're back on my hardcore world. Last episode we built 16 farms because this farm broke my spirit, my will to live. But today we're going back to our Asian city to build an arena. But first, I'm just finishing adding this shulker box loader to my water bucket farm. Putting a double chest onto every farm and calling it storage is fine for a YouTube video. But do you know how difficult it is to play in an actual Minecraft world when your storage on everything is first class terrible? And we're going to start today by adding shulker loaders and way better storage to many of my farms because, okay, well, should I say it or do you want to say it? Do you want me to say it? You want me to say it? Okay, fine. The storage on many of my farms is terrible. There, I said it.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
Another warp farm is now shulker loaded. See? Progress. This one's a big one. This sugarcane farm is way too fast for a single player world. I've been hand filling shulkers of sugarcane and I already have too many. But presto magico, we have this shulker loaded now too. I'm a bit worried that this will need a 2x speed loader, but we'll see. Next up is the slime farm. I'm going to need a lot more slime soon for a few projects that I have in mind, so we'll definitely want to shulker load this. And we're zooming through this. Here's the finished project. This is a funny one. Next up, I'm going to shulker load the shulker shell farm. I have to do this in a bit of a weird way because I don't want shulkers being able to teleport anywhere onto the storage, so I do have to create a bit of a hopper chain, but there isn't a lot near this farm, so that should be fine. While I'm doing this one, let me explain at least a little. These machines that I'm adding onto every farm basically load all of the drops into a shulker, then break the shulker and replace it with another so that can fill up too. It then drops the full shulker into a storage container like a barrel or a double chest, and that can hold 27 times more than the original container by itself. And yeah, this one looks weird, but at least it works. This is the shulker that's being filled currently. The hopper and dropper above it are what's feeding into it, and the barrel on the left is empty shulkers. The one on the lower right are the full shulkers, and that's our first full shulker now. This design is by Samus the Sage and will be linked in the description. Some farms can't use the single speed loader by Samus though. This ice farm is 72,000 per hour, but with the way the hopper cooldown works, this farm backs up a single speed loader pretty quickly. And yeah, I'm aware that putting only a double chest on this farm was just memes. And this is Feelgoodnator's 6-speed loader twice. This is what we call overkill and an absolute 100% guarantee that we pick up every piece of ice I ever make at this farm. I don't need this size loader on the farm, but I'm very familiar with it. It's easy to make, and I replaced a meme storage with a meme storage. Onto the powder snow farm, and yes, this farm desperately needs storage. I filled every bit up already, and the farm is full since I spent so long building the ice farm near it. The shulker loader is done, but now I need to add a bit of extra storage onto this one. Because powdered snow buckets don't stack, shulkers fill very quickly, and even though I added a loader, the single barrel won't hold enough to run the farm even once. That's better, now I should definitely go run this farm. It's going to take me several runs to get this farm back on track. It doesn't work as well if you let the farm fill completely up, as you only get new buckets back at the end of each row. That means if more than 15 buckets are collected per row, you're just sitting there waiting until you get to the refill stations. You can see how many I already use on this first row. We have one more farm that needs some real storage added, and that's the Wither Skeleton farm. The Wither Skeleton farm produces coal, bones, Wither Skeleton skulls, and some extras like stone swords and blaze rods. I want to filter out the skulls, shulker load the coal and the bone, and dump all the rest into fire, including the blaze rods. We have a better blaze farm now, so I don't need to save the few per session that I was getting here. I'm going to use 2 filtered loaders for both coal and bones, and a slime pusher to move the drops around. You can see I actually built the storage 1 block too far forward, but let's be honest, I'm not going to move it now that it's done. The dropper should have technically been under the original hoppers, but that's fine. No harm, no foul. Now I have a safe spot to hit this farm. If you use ENXO4's Wither Skeleton farm, let me actually suggest this armor stand. It's way easier to hit everything inside in one swing with sweeping edge if you do. And there it is. My farms are now all shulker loaded because storage tech is my passion. As I started gathering materials for the city's new arena, I realized I'm very low on something I need a whole lot of. Bamboo. I actually have 0. We're gonna need to build a farm. Oh no, Rad's gonna have to build a farm! What a surprise! Step 1 was realizing I had a problem. Step 2 is gathering a few bamboo shoots so I can make a new farm. And bamboo chopping has to be one of the best Minecraft ASMR sounds that we have, isn't it? This bamboo farm that I'm making is a fast and simple one by ComView. I think I'll put it right next to the dark oak farm that ComView and I worked on together as well. This farm accepts shulkers of bone meal at once and is very fast, but uses a ton of bone meal to create that speed. What you see is what you get with this farm though. 4 sets of dispensers, bone mealing bamboo to grow it, break it with a piston, and repeat. Are there better ways to do this? Yes. Do I care? Look at this. No. No, I don't. Okay, the bamboo farm is done, and I have one more project to take care of before we build the arena, and I hope you'll bear with me for this one as it's very important to me personally. I've been streaming for over 5 years now on Twitch, and last November I did my first ever subathon, which is an event where I streamed for 6 consecutive days and into the 7th. During an event like that, community members give subs, donate bits, and keep the subathon going by extending the timer each time they do. Over the course of the subathon, we had tens of thousands of viewers, hundreds of people give subs and bits, and a number of people go way above and beyond in their support of me, the community, and the event. Apparently I have no diamonds, but I have some more, that's fine. What I also have are 8 empty armor stands in my renovated end stronghold, and I've had this project in mind for a little while now. I want to put a netherite armor stand for the top 8 contributors to the subathon into the hub. All 8 of these people have been hugely important to this community and our ongoing success over the last 5 years. 2 are mods for my streams and Discord. Why do I always forget how expensive it is to make netherite armor now, by the way? I currently have half the netherite ingots I'll need, plus a couple of leftovers, but I need another stack or so of debris. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to break up every diamond ore that I currently have and go get more. The armor trims will be done in 4 colors for the stronghold. Redstone for red, gold for the yellow path, emerald for green, and lapis for blue. I do also need to head back and grab some more debris. I don't mind mining, and at least it started off pretty quickly. A little over an hour and a quick repair later, and we can keep going. I ended up with more than I needed, but that's fine. I'm sure we'll make more sets later. Hundreds of diamonds from a stack of ores, 128 ancient debris, and 2 nether runs, and hundreds of emeralds spent with villagers get us to this point. Another stack plus of ore got me the diamonds for the trims, and now I have all 32, but only 22 diamonds left in the world. Again. Let's quickly add the armor trims to each armor piece. I use the armor stand mod by Roundaround to let me pose, give armor stand arms, and remove the base plate for these. There's a lot I can do, but that's the bit that we're going to care about today. Vanilla Tweak's armor stand book works similarly, but without the great GUI. Let's get these done and I'll show them off at the end. Okay, a few minutes later and here we are. In the yellow case we have Lioness and Mr. Smiley Face. In the green case is Maven and Lizzie Potatoes. The blue is Beth and Geeky Ninja. And the red is Griffo and Sir Nipplington. Thanks to all 8 of you for being such a huge part of our community, I really do appreciate it. And thanks to everyone watching for letting me take the time to take care of the people who take care of me in our community. And we're back in the mines because I'm diamond poor again.
Boom.
Okay, let's go build this arena. The lower grass that you can see in the hole will actually be the field for the arena. What I'm making is a small skill display arena, not like a Roman Colosseum, but a test of skill in an archery style called Yabusame. Traditionally, a Yabusame archer would gallop down a 250-meter track while guiding the horse with their knees and shooting at targets in clay pots. The exact ritual would be different than our take in this world, of course, but the arena is designed more of an homage to that than a competitive site. And what I hope for in the end is 2 royal suites, one for the home ruler and one for a visitor who could come enjoy the games. The 2 royal suites are different as the city's leader would have a larger court and slightly expanded suite, but otherwise the playing arena and viewing areas will be the same. The walls are in. It's simple stone with some aging. The stone would keep the arrows from doing any real damage if the archer were to miss, and with shaders on this is going to look pretty great. If you stick around until the end, I'll show you the completed arena with shaders too. And with that, I think we've completed the arena. Let's go take a look at it. I will probably never consider myself a good builder on the level of those who can make anything look good, but I really love how this world is coming out. I hope you do too. For now, thanks for watching, and goodbye. Hey all, welcome in. I'm Rad, and today we're back in my hardcore world. Last episode, we built an arena for my fantasy Asian city, and today we're doing demolition, building a waterfall, and laying out future builds on the run up to 2,000 days in the world. We're going to start the demolition with the bee farm before moving it to the nether. I want both honey and honeycomb, so we'll build farms for both. And later we'll work on this boring base entrance and lay out our huge plans for the future. Okay, I promised demolition, so let's start to break things. I'm doing this at night because it's the best. All the bees are guaranteed to be in their hives and won't come out. I do see the sun coming up though, so let's get these broken quickly. Then I can take the rest of this old farm out. And by the end of this episode, I'm going to remove our oldest remaining project in the world. Do you know what it is? Let's save some of this stuff for later. Like a lot of the world currently, this has become a mess. There's a lot of villagers in the breeder now. I want to get the trading hall filled up today. We're going to move every one of these villagers into our trading hall. I still have the entire second level of this to fill. And I won't set the trades for every villager yet because I want to know what changes Mojang's going to bring for 1.21. But I do want the villagers in each cell today. There's so much to do. I still want to place a natural staircase that wraps up the side of this mountain and all the way up to the temple. I need to create space for all the builds I want in this city, and plan for the mega build I want to put here. Today we're also going to put in final road plans for this, one up to the guilds, as well as the one over the residential area. And I think we can get some placeholder building corners in for all the builds in the city today too. Basically what I'm saying is the whole world's a work in progress. There's 100 projects to do and it's about time we get on with it. The honeycomb farm and later the honey farm are both going in this chunk here. I'll turn on chunk borders so you can see, but this is the chunk that's already chunk loaded all of the time. Whatever I put here will be permanently loaded along with our iron farm. So let's start with the storage. I don't want to have to do another episode where I focus on building storage for a bunch of farms. Does it look familiar? It should. I used the same design like 8 times last episode. It's Samus the Sage's shulker loader. With the gates closed, I can add beehives directly here without them getting out. Keep this in mind. It is foreshadowing for something going horribly wrong later. All the bees are in now and it's working productively, or so it seems. They're using the azalea leaves as flowers, so I don't need flowers and dirt in here. It's just a little bit cleaner and a bit simpler to farm them. For some reason I confused my farms. I thought this was meant to be the honey bottle farm, but it's the design for the honeycomb farm. Sometimes I'm just kind of dumb. And this was one of those times. The bottles were getting force ejected over and over again, so yeah, I wasn't collecting all the honey here, even though it looked like I was. In order to fix this farm, I'll have to come back to it later. For now, it's time to cover up this eyesore. I told you there's a lot to do today. I know the other side is worse, but that's a project in itself. I can make this side look good quickly. I don't really have a plan for this. I'm going to lay down some blocks until I stop hating how it looks. And the top will need to be a lot less flat and square. When I see people try and build custom mountains, they also use these guide wires. I think I'm going to try wireframing a bit of this hill and see how it all comes together. Okay, I've done a lot of work shaping this, and now I think if I plant some cherry trees and then come back with some bone meal to make the ground look a little bit less cleared and a little bit less man-made, it will all come together. Okay, let's have a look at it. This used to be that squared off, exposed stone brick hole. Now I think it looks great. You can hardly tell I did work here, and I'm more than happy with that. Let's continue the aesthetic changes by starting the stone path up to the temple. I don't want it to look perfect. I've seen a lot of temples that have a straight walkway up to a landing, to another straight walkway, to another landing, and so on, and it all looks so right-angled and perfect. I don't want that. I want mine to blend into the mountain, to be a bit more naturally organic, and to look smooth but imperfect. It's not going to be perfect in every single spot. The idea that the stairs are winding naturally down rather than posing themselves up against the hill is really what I want. The corners and turns are a bit tricky like this, but I laid out a central guide and then put blocks on either side of it. Some of the levels are wrong to start with, but at least we're making some kind of progress. Like a lot of projects, it's going to be me putting something down so we have somewhere to start, and then fixing it up once I can see it. I'm much better at both building and terraforming when I have something already there. I admire those who can build from their mind, but I'm a much better editor than a first draft creator. And this is far from done, but it's definitely the start I needed. Now it's a lot of trial and error to get the shape exactly how I want. I edited one draft of this, and now I want to add a little bit of texture before I keep smoothing it out. I don't want to end up looking too consistent and planned, but I do want to add some andesite, mostly towards the edges where the wind and weather would wear it away a bit, and then in the footpath where people would lighten the stone by walking on it. Stone bricks and even a little cobblestone around the path and into the walls will look great and make the normal stone look more worn in as well. I used this path to make the shape a bit cleaner, and I think it's really starting to look like I want. Well, okay, the lower bits are looking good. The middle and upper need a bit more work. While I think about that, let's get the road wireframes in. I have the general shape laid out, but I want to create that central path today, connecting it all up and giving us an idea of where buildings can go later. A major part of this process is again the editing. When I was learning to play Minecraft, I used to get hung up on every block I placed myself being in its final resting place. Once I drew the line, that was the line. Unless it was very wrong, it was just the best I could do, but that's wrong. Editing your build, seeing the bigger pictures, and double checking yourself is a huge part of learning to build in a world. And it actually feels good if you're just starting a big project to get a few of the blocks out and outlines in place. I find the more I do on a project, the more natural it feels and the better it flows. I don't have to think about how, I just build the what, and that's way more fun. I like seeing the plan from different angles as well to check it over and over again. The main road looks good, so let's do the one up to the guild area. I keep calling it that without explaining, and that's probably confusing and something I do too often. I'm going to eventually put builds up here that represent all of the city's trades and guilds. Leatherworker, stonemason, armorer. Think about all the Minecraft jobs. Those are going to line up this hill, and the guilds are important to the city, but not on the level of the temple or trading hall where all the guilds meet to sell and trade. They'll get a fair bit of space each, unlike the residential area, which will be much more condensed housing and a bit cheaper looking. At the end of this guild district will be one last special build, but we'll save that reveal for later. Let's take a look at my progress. I think it looks great and will definitely work. Let's move on. The military roads are next. Unlike the winding casual guild roads, I want this to be more formal, straight, and squared off. Large, square buildings will go in this area, and I want it to look serious and efficient. A simple bridge will cross the river before main transportation lines run in both directions from here. And after adding a small road to our future mega build, another for the military, and one over to the arena, we're up to here. The city road planning is done for now. The residential area, however, had a much bigger problem. Existing paths already cover the area, and I need to remove those before I can even start on building new ones. I find the easiest way is to cover them with another solid block so they turn back into dirt. I started out with stone, but quickly realized that breaking stone wasn't that smart. If only we had another solid block that would moss. I used moss. Yep, that's much faster. With that done, I'm now free to create my own paths. I used roads in the main city because it's a built-up, proper city. But out here in the poorer residential district, the residents will make do with whatever building materials and roads they can get. This means the formal stone and cobble paths end and dirt begins. The homes out here will be made of multiple wood types from jungle and oak to acacia, dark oak, and birch, whatever they can get. When I do get out to build the residential area, the theme is going to be scraps. These are leftover build materials from other projects, and the villagers will make homes from them. Okay, let's take a look. As I mentioned earlier, the residential area will be tightly packed homes close to each other for both protection and necessity. They're on the outskirts for a reason. There are numerous paths and plenty of villagers can live here. I'm pausing using F3 and escape. That lets me see, but doesn't put the giant menu over the top of the screen. Roads and paths are now connected for each main build district. One day when this area is finished, this is the screenshot I want, and this is the payoff you get for watching me build this city over the next 10 episodes or so. And then we'll have an entire city built up from a guy who's barely built a decent looking house before. If you think you can't learn how to build in Minecraft, you're wrong. After the roads were done, I built one more road, from this breeder into the villager hall, and after sticking a rail line on top of it, I moved all of those villagers from here into the hall itself. They're still in minecarts and not in their pods, but we'll get there. I'm not sure what everyone's job will be, but these 5 are likely extra clerics for redstone dust and bottles of XP. The top will be full of farmers, leatherworkers, smiths, fishermen, masons. Moving them in is pretty simple. I just push them, then add a block here, and when I want to roll their trades later, we'll make a simple setup to do that as well. Escapees are then captured in boats for easy reassignment. I'm on day 1900, and this episode will mark the final stretch before we pass 2,000 days played in the world. I still have like 8 projects to do and 100 days to get it all done. I'm starting to worry whether it's all possible. One of those projects is this ceiling. It's unfinished and disgusting, kind of. Originally I left it like this as I was simply out of everything I needed to finish. Quartz, dark oak, a good tool to break it all up. There was a lot that I needed, and by the end I just called it close enough. But now I have everything I need to fix this and make it a lot nicer in here. We're getting a bit low on dark oak, but I should have more than enough. I'll definitely need to run the farm soon though. I left the bottom row of stone and dirt in so I have somewhere to stand, and now it's just a matter of laying down the dark oak and stripping it. I could use my log stripper, but it's only a little bit of dark oak overall, and probably not worth the trip for such a little amount. In the end, I actually found it simpler to lay down all the dark oak and strip it at once by flying it into the 1 block gap. It was also kind of fun this way, so yeah, it worked out. And once I was done, removing the last layer that I'm crouching on was simple enough. The next step is to continue these beams all the way up and finish the quartz panels. Could I maybe buy some quartz to keep building your home? Thanks. What a difference a little bit of work makes, huh? And yes, I still get a lot of redstone from these clerics here, so let's grab that before I leave. This is going to be the new entrance to our storage room. It's wider, easier to fly in, and now I just need the entire waterfall that covers it up. I'm off to design that in a creative test world with a friend, but we'll come back to that later. Meanwhile, I decided to fix my bee farm. I started safely, as you can imagine. Closed gates, one opening, thinking about the problem, still not realizing it's not the bottle farm. All I had to do, to be clear, was just remove the bottles and add shears. The entire farm is built correctly and has been the whole time. I tried swapping the glass with the solid blocks again, but watch this mistake. Hindsight's 20/20, right? I replaced the front panels and then the top, but not that end. I missed it. I add the redstone back, and this lever. Don't flip the lever. Crap. With that, I released all of the bees, without an end block on the other side. Some got out, then more. I actually had no idea what to do in this situation. I looked at my options and more got out. Bottles were getting ejected at me. The whole thing has now become a complete disaster. In the moment, I think I believed it was over, so I removed the glass and just let them all out. Why not? We had 27 bees in this, 2 are dead, and that means something like 25 are now running around the nether roof unsupervised. And I still have bottles everywhere. I had to either capture the bees or let them all go and start from scratch. This is a lot of bees, so I did the first thing I could think of. I grabbed a poppy from the iron farm filter and tried to lure the bees all to me. Still had no plan for what I was going to do with them. And this somewhat worked, except for the lack of a plan. I had to lure them up to their hives, hoping I could get their attention until they all wanted to go to their nests at the same time, or so I don't know what the plan was. Don't try this. It doesn't work. Anyway, my next idea was simpler but also way smarter. Boats. So using that poppy, I lured bees into boats, which was very slow and resulted in most of them getting much further away. Then my brain turned back on after all the chaos. Leads. If you ever have 25 escaped bees, just use leads.
You stupid!
I was able to then capture a bunch of bees. I trapped them in boats as I had planned so I could then breed myself more and make sure that I had the numbers for both farms. Those newborn bees were immediately led to boats as well. And after taking my frustrations out on this armor stand, and this one, I took a break. And the next morning it was finally waterfall building time. So the idea here is that I'm going to build up the terrain on the outside of the entrance, create a carved out waterfall over the entrance, and then send the water to the underground river that's behind me. I've brought some of the waterfall blocks into the entrance with me to blend the difference from inside to outside a bit better, and the bottom here will be a bit like that when it's done too. The water will then flow down here and into this underground passage, under the bridge, here, to the river that's on the other side. Wait, watch how this looks. I don't know why, but there's something so nice about flying through the waterfall like this. There's almost a visual switch that happens from the inside to the outside and vice versa. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. The outside is so bright and blue, and inside is black walls and dark, and it instantly changes when you hit the water. And now, just like the cherry hill from earlier, we're going to hit it with enough bone meal to kill a creeper. I'll take out all the flowers and just leave the greens. The flowers bring back colors I didn't intend to go with the falls. It has its own vibe and I want to keep it that way. I don't mind the pink petals though because my main base is in a cherry grove, so up at the very top and heading into my pagoda I'll take out the 2 high grass as well, make it look a little bit less wild. And thanks to Meebin for all the design help, his link will be in the description, check it out. For my next trick, I'm going to plan out the floors for nearly every remaining building in the city, starting with this house right here. This is a pretty ambitious goal. I want to put in the 4 corners on the ground floor of all the residential homes, the military buildings, the guild shops, and at least a marker of sorts for the other major buildings that don't have a defined floor plan idea yet. I'm using very brightly colored wool to mark these out, because it's very easy to remove later with shears and it shows up when we fly over, so planning's all a bit easier. These residential homes will be small, 5x5, 7x7, 9x13s, that sort of thing. None of them will be larger than 11x11 and none smaller than 5x5 I think. And that makes planning the spacing a bit easier as I know most will be small squares and rectangles, pretty similar in size and shape, and all being fairly close to the main paths that we've already created. As much as I want the paths that I've created as well, I'll move those where the flow of buildings doesn't make sense either. This lower section looks good for now. Like most of the world, the further I get into a project, the better it flows. It probably speaks to my own building inexperience that sometimes these projects are the first time I've done something like that, so instead of knowing how it's going to go, I learn on the job. I think that's fairly common in Minecraft though. By the time I finished laying out the residences, I feel like I knew why each home was there, how it connected to the rest, and I was just sprinting through them. Some of the further away homes were a bit larger, you get more space but you're on the outer edge. The ones in the middle are more uniform 7x7 buildings, and the ones near the river, even though we're in the poorest area of town, are still the most prestigious. In the end, there are about 35 to 40 homes here, and before you ask how I plan to build 40 homes, remember they're really small and not very detailed. These are not on the level of the pagoda, the temple, or the arena, or any of the city projects. I've planned about 12 roof designs already, and they're very straightforward floor plans to repeat, so this will all get done. Also, I considered putting corners in like this so you could see all the buildings more clearly, but it's a lot more wool to remove later. I tried to leave a little room in between the homes, so you could just do a few gardens and decorative builds here as well. Hopefully the vision for the city is starting to become more and more clear as we go. The residences sit on the outside, but it's a very important piece of the overall picture that we're painting. Let's continue with the guild shops. I'm going to outline the guild shops starting with a build that will go up here on the hill, and the next will go right beside the city hub down here. From there I'll work my way up the hill, creating various shop sizes and layouts with a vague idea of what I want to do for each. Unlike the residences, these shops have some money from the sales of their products, and they want to put some of that money into buying the biggest and best shops they can. And what kind of shop has the most value in a world where hostile creatures roam the woods just outside your city? Armorers and weaponsmiths are probably highly valued. A local bakery for some bread, probably less so, while a cleric, more like a modern doctor, is critical to tend to your illness and wounds. You'll notice I put in some corners on these builds. Because of the somewhat different shapes, I want to make sure I remember exactly which blocks are going to belong to which shops when I come back later to build these up. I don't have exact plans for these builds yet, so I'm leaving plenty of space to get creative and make some cool stuff here though. At the end of the path, I do have a very specific and special build in mind, so I'll mark it out simply for now, but it won't be a simple build. And here's a look at the guild shops from above. It looks like there are around 14 separate builds, but a few of the buildings will go together, so it will end up being more like 10 trades. Our next layouts will be for the remaining large and important city structures in the world. Unlike the residences and guild shops, these are prominent standalone structures that will work together to make the city function. They'll be very similar in style and color to the existing builds in the city, and will all have plenty of space, landscaping, and details to make each one stand out as a build on its own. This breeder is now in the way. I need to let them finish up so I can remove it. Hurry up and I think there are about 8 more of these reasonably detailed large builds in this part of the city. That's about what I was hoping for, and it fits pretty well. When I finish the city, my last project here will be a mega build in this corner. This will be the most impressive build by far in the whole area. I'm not going to give away too much, but it will be a fitting end to a lot of work, I hope. Finally, the military builds will, much like their roads, be rectangular builds that have room for supplies, barracks, training, and planning. They're not beautiful or very aesthetic, but more functional and large open builds. Kind of like loud is funny, but when big is impressive. And the colors for these builds will mirror the sentry towers around the city and be darker and more serious than the rest. I expect only a few large builds here, as they'll mostly be training grounds and staging areas. Yeah, I think this is looking about how I want it to. After looking at the overall plan, I'm going to add 2 more builds I think will make the area great. One will be in the cliffside right about here. Ow. The other will be a large stone bridge that spans from this side of the river here to over on that side there. I think this is a better look at their final spots. So this is a lot of future planning. Let's take a look at the whole thing. I've had so much of this planned in my head for nearly 2,000 in-game days and over 10 months IRL. It feels incredibly freeing to just put it all on the ground, plan it, see it, and realize it's actually going to happen now. We're now about 1,940 days into the world, and I still have a truckload of work to do. So here's the plan. I'm not ready to see the last of our breeding couple. We'll need to get them to repopulate a section of the city one day, so for now I want to move them to a safe spot. I've chosen this one at the top of the villager center where it's easy to get them out and move them around later. Getting them to fall into their own breeder was simple, and now they're safely relocated. It feels weird, but with the first iron farm and sheep farm already gone, as well as the creeper farm and the underground trading hall, we've now removed every farm build from episode 1 and replaced it with something far, far better. Okay, I can't reach 2,000 days without at least trying this next project one more time. Yes, I'm back at the tropical fish farm with one goal, and I don't care what it takes, we're getting this. Do I want to spend 50 days doing this? No. Will I? You betcha. See, I already have a world I'm proud of. Lots of builds, tons of great and overpowered farms, a plan for the future, I have all the armor trims, 25 sets of netherite armor, and anything I want in the world, except the rare blue axolotl. I have a few projects I'd like to finish before 2,000 days, but this is the one I want the most. Stop me when this feels familiar. Not him, not this one, not you either. I'll bring you back when I'm closer. Y'all, I was at this for over 3 hours. Collect fish, collect fish, breed with fish. If anyone is really that bored, sure, I'll upload 3 hours of fish and axolotl breeding. Over and over I fed, collected, and fed some more. But let me show you the uncut moments. My mic was actually muted here and I don't have audio for this. I'm not going to fake a huge reaction, but I was insanely happy to be done with this. To finally have my blue boy. I didn't also know how to react, so I only knew one thing. If I lose this guy, if he dies, the world is over. I will uninstall this game and never look back. This isn't a safe place. So let's get him to a safe place. Let's rename him. Let's do all the things we need to do. I cleared out a cell over here, and there he is. I could cry. I'm so excited at this. Even watching the footage back more than a week later, I'm still overwhelmed with how long this took, how much work it was. I mean, I've had blue axolotls before, but I got them after like 250 or 350 breedings. It never felt like a lot of work, and even though they can be quite hard to get, this little guy was a lot more work than all of them put together. Alright, let's name this guy Chance because there was such a low one of getting him. I kept a very close eye on Chance until he grew up and I brought him a new friend. Chance and his friend have 50-50 odds of making a new blue or a new brown axolotl. Of course it's brown. 5 minutes later I tried again and this time we got another blue. And don't think too hard about the next part, but once that baby grew up, breeding a blue with a blue will give you a blue 100% of the time, forever onward. So let's make another blue axolotl. Don't think too hard about it. I scooped up Chance to take with me, and now our axolotl farm can produce any color we want, anytime we want. So I put Chance with the original 4 axolotls, and now I have my complete collection. Finally. If you're wondering what it took, I've emptied 949 buckets of axolotl, almost 100% of those were failed breeds. I've also dropped another 126 buckets off the edge of the farm. 100% of those were failed breedings as well. To the best of my knowledge, it took more than 1,000 axolotl breedings, 2,000 tropical fish, or nearly 75 shulkers of fish, and nearly 7 hours to get Chance. And that puts me at day 1955. Back when I originally passed 1,000 days played in the world, I spent the next 100 or so days running farms, catching up, and ultimately spending a big part of this 1,000 days doing work that had to be done. I didn't want to do that after day 2000, so I did it early this time. I ran the gold farm for over 15 stacks of gold blocks, then I ran the wither skeleton farm for a couple of shulkers of coal, over a stack of heads, and tons of bones for bone meal. Then I ran my slime farm for 90 minutes, with the mob switch turned on. Then fixed it and ran it some more. I ran the raid farm quite a lot for emeralds, redstone, and gunpowder. Then I used the bone meal from the wither skeleton farm to run the bamboo farm for more bamboo. And I remembered that I'm a bit low on dark oak, so I used that farm for a good while as well. My goal is always to come out of that farm sapling positive, and I did. And I'm back up to about 10 shulkers of that, which feels like enough for now. Then it was onto the ghast farm. I get more gunpowder per hour here than the raid farm, so I thought I'd get way ahead on rockets for the next 1,000 days and beyond. By day 1977, I was up to the copper farm. I built this in episode 16, but only ran it for a few minutes. I thought it'd be smart to get a bit ahead on the copper, as I know it'll play a huge part in a future build project. And the tunnel bore was up next. I have so few diamonds in the world despite being 2,000 days in. I'd also like more gold, redstone, tuff, and cobbled deep slate. And then after the blaze farm, I felt like we had made enough progress on farm running for now. Through a bit of painstaking trouble, I managed to get all the bees back to the overworld and back to my pagoda. And after a brief escape attempt was stopped, I had enough back with me to fix all of my previous problems. And by now I realized that I was using the wrong farm for the wrong thing, so I removed all of the bottles from the honeycomb farm, and with the iron farm directly next to me, crafted a ton of shears to fill the farm that I had already built. Once the shulker loader was cleared and a new shulker in place, this farm was actually finished. Adding beehives to the nether version of ENXO4's honey farm is actually challenging. I didn't want to escape bees again as I would have likely lost my remaining brain cells. Unlike the overworld where you can do this at night and it's perfectly easy, doing this in the nether means the bees immediately pop out and start working. So I deliberated on a plan and then I just went for it. Thankfully there were no escapees this time and everything went to plan. I was able to finish the farm and get it all working with no further issues. Both the honey bottle and the honeycomb farm are now working and permanently loaded. Trading repaired my gear and got us more redstone. I then ran the stone farm for more blocks and the raid farm again, and suddenly, the sun is rising on day 2000. I'm on top of the church from day 0, as always ending where it started. I accomplished all of my goals for this 1,000 days and then some, from the temple in episode 11 to getting the rare blue axolotl today. As you've seen, I have a huge amount of plans for the next 1,000 days as well. We're going to build in nearly every episode for at least a while. Wait for it. Wait for it. And there it is, 2,000 days survived in hardcore Minecraft. I have a mini-series coming out soon and you won't see hardcore for a little while, so as the world disappears behind me, I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.